We rolling?
Yeah. I watched.
Wait, should we introduce it first before you?
No. We can just walk into it. Doesn't really matter.
All right.
Yeah. So I was watching Maisel, and it was one of those old talk shows. Jane Lynch's character went on it.
Yeah.
Talk about things.
Season 3.
Yeah, season 3.
Oh,
And-
is this the episode where she's running she's presenting a talk show as her like actual
No,
person, and then
she gets invited to a talk show to discuss how things went sour the last time.
yes, I think that's
And-
the end of either end of season 3 or some part of season 4.
It's close to the end of season 3. I think.
Yeah.
The thing that got me was I've watched a lot of old talk shows just because that's an interest.
Yeah.
Let me just move some stuff. And one thing that I've always found interesting is how new talk shows are basically game shows starring celebrities, right?
Yeah.
Where celebrities will go on and they'll be super quirky and they'll have prepared anecdotes and shit. And how kind of vile and disgusting that is to, hey, we're talking about something that's interesting to us, and
Oh my god.
instead of
Sorry,
being,
excuse me.
yeah,
The fizz just went straight.
you're good. Instead of being genuine people, we're gonna talk about, faff and bullshit.
Yeah.
And you contrast that with fucking my dad has a Playboy from like 1970,
It used to be like a really pretty.
1960 something.
Didn't they
1970.
release? I remember listening.
This is like a mega sized Playboy, and right in the middle of it, there's a huge interview with Malcolm X.
It cut its teeth on that
And
kind of thing, didn't it?
Yeah, and
It used to be like sort of like the.
How weird is it that Playboy in the 70s, when it was in the porn period,
Yeah.
had way more depth in an interview than Jimmy Kimmel,
Yeah.
right? Than the successors to Dick Cavett or Johnny Carson,
Yeah.
So, I mean, just imagine a show that built itself. I mean, Rogan kind of does
Really
this.
like media propaganda, but yeah.
Joe Rogan kind of does this where it's like a 3-hour-long conversation. But imagine if it was a more formalized interview where the interviewer had a series of questions that they wanted to ask, and the whole premise was like, if you're on this show, there's no press junket that comes before you. There's no agents that come in ahead and tell me what not to ask.
Yeah.
I am asking the questions that I'm curious about, and they're formalized, and it's a Q&A and maybe a little bit of a conversation in the middle. But how do you reach that point where you can get a big star or a politician on and simply like cut the bullshit? No crap. Why do you support this? Or who are you? Or why did you do this 7 months ago?
So why was Miss Maisel? Why did you think about this from
simply
that?
because the conversation that Jane Lynch's character had on that episode with the talk show host was such a genuine thing, and to me it immediately reflected all of the other talk shows and interviews of that period, where people were super candid. They were talking about things that inspired them and things that hurt them, and we like to think of the past as a place where people didn't really discuss traumatic events and didn't discuss bad things that happened to them, but really they were way more candid and way less cynical about it.
How much of it was that there were less stars, and the stars that we did have back then were mega stars? Dean Martin, Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr. You had these.
I don't think Sinatra and Sammy Davis, I don't think the Rat Pack were really going through those press tours. But you look at somebody like Jimmy Stewart.
Yeah.
Jimmy Stewart, or really any of the old classic, like Bogey.
Yeah.
They, on interviews, they're very clear about it. It's not produced. They're going there to talk and to answer questions. And those questions aren't brought to them before they get there.
Yeah.
I think that became a formality later when people wanted to protect themselves from, possible harm from external journalists after the fact, who would report on that interview and make news about it.
Well, now it's more. I mean, I wonder how. I'm not familiar enough with old talk shows, but at least now the only reason why you would go on a talk show is because you're promoting this new thing, and I'm pretty sure you're contractually obliged to go promote on a certain number of talk shows. Or
I just think that if if you're going to start a talk show,
Yeah.
it may be. I mean, even recently, if you want to look recently, look at like Craig Ferguson.
Craig Ferguson was pretty good.
Can you believe that fucking what's his name, James Corden, is the successor to Craig Ferguson?
I mean, we got rid of him from England, and we're still surprised you guys haven't got rid of him again.
To be fair, we kicked back Piers Morgan your way, so that's...
Is he back there now?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he is really enjoying the current political fervor because it's taking a lot of heat off of him. He can just say the right things.
Which is wild.
Yeah. He can just say the right things and bank on people not kicking his ass.
What a fucking weird landscape.
Anyway, fuck that guy.
What fucking webs? This would be 0.5 of...
No, this would be...
10 or 11?
Let's just call it 11.
11.5, whatever.
No, just regular 11.
You want to do it? All right.
Yeah.
Welcome to Chicken Coop Podcast.
Welcome to the Chicken Coop Podcast.
We are an hour out from finishing the Star Wars hate podcast.
It's not the Star Wars hate podcast. It's the aggressively Star Wars love podcast.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. But I thought it'd be a good idea to jump back on now everyone's left and just do a normal bullshit pod where we just have fun for a little bit.
Just chat.
Yeah.
This is our fireside chat, reflected by the beautiful lighting.
I mean, technically, we can put these lights on flicker, I guess, so all of the
fuck off
listeners can can enjoy that.
Fuck off.
Hey, what have you watched recently that you enjoyed?
Ooh, that's a big question.
I got something. We were just talking about it. Marvelous Miss Maisel.
I still haven't caught up.
I blitzed through.
If you listeners will remember episode 9, we talked about Marvelous Mrs. Maisel briefly, and in the time since recording that and recording this. I haven't watched a single episode, or I've watched half an episode more out of order, and Alex has watched the entire show.
Yeah. It was so great to, when it comes to like 8, 9, and I want to keep working, stick it on in the corner of my screen, because the dialogue is great.
I can't, with that show specifically, I can't watch it in the background because it's so engaging. I want to pay attention to it.
It was half and half. Half of it, I'd finish working and I'd making food for a couple of hours and cleaning up, and I'd have it on my phone.
And then the other thing is, I watched the first 2 seasons when they came out in complete binge mode.
Yeah.
And something about the way the episodes are structured and the way Amy Sherman Palladino writes her dialogue.
Is that the writer?
Yeah.
She is so good.
She's
what
the woman
else has she done?
Gilmore Girls.
I never watched the Gilmore Girls.
Oh my god,
it's good.
It's very different. I mean, it's more sitcom-y, but if you like that like witty, fast-paced rapport,
it was fantastic dialogue.
It's like that. It's a lot more sanitized because it was on the CW.
Gilmore
Girls. Amy Sherman Palladino.
7 seasons.
Yeah.
Damn.
It's got a good cast too.
Oh, Jared Padalecki's in here.
Yeah. This is his like breakout role. This is before Supernatural.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Melissa McCarthy was in it?
Yeah, she plays Sookie.
Huh. Yeah,
This was also like one of her first big things. She plays the cook in the inn.
Who is it? Amy Sherman Palladino. Let's see what she's done. She's done. Oh.
Yeah, she's very very successful.
She is. If she's the one writing all that dialogue is tight.
It is exactly her style. Like if you go back and watch any episode of Gilmore Girls, the speed at which people talk to each other, and one thing that I love that she does is she manages to make every line witty and fun.
Yeah.
But it's not jokey and it's not hokey. So like it still sounds like a conversation 2 people could have.
Oh, she wrote Roseanne.
It's just 10 times faster. She didn't write all of Roseanne. She was a writer on Roseanne.
Writer on Roseanne, okay.
Yeah.
City over the top.
She's fantastic though.
I was thoroughly impressed.
There's something with the way that show's written where like the way each episode ends immediately makes me want to not watch the credits and just zoom into the next episode.
Yeah.
And I'm a sucker for a good cut to black.
Who's the actress that plays Susie? She is so good.
Susie is Lois Griffin.
Yes, Alex Bornstein.
Yeah.
And Rachel Brosnahan.
Rachel Brosnahan's aunt is Kate Spade, or was Kate Spade before she passed away.
Every actor, Joel, Michael Zegan.
He's so good.
Marin Hinkle plays Rose Weissman.
Yeah. Joe
Tony
Shalhoub. Yeah, that's
who plays
Maisel's
a very different character. Because from Monk was always just on the TV on the weekend.
Yeah, I love Monk.
I've never really watched it. And then Kevin Pollak is hilarious.
The 2 of them together are hilarious.
They're the best two. They're the best duo in the show, I think.
I love
playing off each other in the later seasons.
I love watching Joel because he is such a well-meaning dumbass. He really is just a guy who is kind of an idiot, but wants to be a nice guy, but isn't really good at it.
Should we explain the show real quick for people that don't know? Just a little brief.
Watch the fucking show.
Well, but just
if you haven't watched this,
when's it based?
Watch
It's kind of like
based in the 1950s.
It's sort of like the female version of Mad Men, sort of.
Yeah,
sort of.
It does
scratches the same itch, but in a more feminine tone, I guess.
You know what episode it was? It was the episode where Maisel goes to Shai Baldwin's wedding.
Oh, that episode is so good.
It was a good episode.
You mean when after she's beat? Well, I don't understand. Yeah.
Where she
meets him in the restroom again.
Yeah, she and Susie are just going there to ruin as much as they can.
Yeah,
like kind of knocking shit over.
Yeah,
pushing the hors d'oeuvres into the planters.
As a very brief overview of the show, like very first episode, basically Marvelous Miss Maisel. It's a 50s or 60s housewife,
1956,
40s, 50s, whatever,
post-war
housewife,
New York City.
You know, in her late 20s, I think, has 2 kids with a husband. They're both Jewish. She thinks she's settled in life, and this is just it now.
And she's like the perfect
housewife.
Perfect, like 1950s.
Yeah,
like,
she's the
keeps the house, is friendly with everybody in the neighborhood.
She's the poster view of
exactly
a perfect housewife from that.
Exactly what you would perceive.
Yeah, and her husband has the hobby of doing stand-up. So they go down to a specific club called the Gaslight, and he does a
tight 5.
His pretty bad, mediocre stand-up set,
a loose 5,
and she is studiously taking notes and suggesting things, and then at the end of the first episode, does he bomb, or I can't remember exactly.
He just bombs every fucking time. He's not good.
He kind of sucks. Yeah. And basically at the end of the first episode, they get home, and he says, "I'm leaving you. I've been cheating on you with my secretary for 9 months, 6 months, whatever." Yeah. And in like a drunk stupor, she walks the streets, sort of, and she's in a nightgown, and she ends up at the Gaslight, the same stand-up comedy club that he's been doing stuff at, and she's bringing brisket and all sorts of food to like sweeten up the grouchy barkeep really. And like the what do you call him, the
booker,
stage manager, the booker, yeah. And she just wanders up on stage and just does a
great 5,
an ad-lib set talking about just how
great her tits are.
How ridiculous like her life is, and basically and just what's just happened to her, and then at the end of the show, at the end of the set, she's like, and who wouldn't want to come back to this? And she pulls her tits out on stage, and as she pulls her tits out, 2 cops come in,
and she gets arrested.
She gets arrested and she goes to jail, and that's the start. That's
the first episode,
and
really,
one of the fucking amazing episode. And basically this like one of the grouchy bookers, Susie, who everyone, which I think is hilarious, everyone thinks she's a guy. Only certain people think say it correctly, which is such a good bit. She recognizes
talent,
an amazing talent this woman could be, and goes and bails her out of jail.
And the only other person who recognizes her talent is
Lenny Bruce.
Lenny Bruce,
who's a real comedian. If you don't know, he basically
invented comedy.
He didn't invent comedy, but
he invented the modern method of stand-up.
He cleared the way for saying whatever the fucking hell he wanted.
I
didn't realize until
he got fucked by the FBI.
I didn't realize until I watched that show. I didn't realize you needed a vaudeville license to go up on stage. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. He was a trailblazer, and they killed him for it, basically.
And then also at the end, as the show, that was the first episode. As the show progresses, you basically follow her as she continues her stand-up journey.
Well, but one thing I like about the show also in its evolution is that it doesn't overstay its welcome in the premise.
Yes.
Right? Because you would expect a normal show and a normal sitcom may play the premise out of like, is she going to get caught by her family living this double life for 5 fucking seasons?
She has a very, very conservative Jewish New York family.
Very early on.
Dad's a professor. Mum's a
Dad's not just a professor. He's like
he's a professor,
high-ranking scientist.
He's a math
working with the government
at Columbia. Starts off, then he goes off to work for Bell Labs, and the wife is like, well, you don't find out, but you find later on in the show you find out she's comes from an incredibly wealthy oil family.
Yeah, they're all so well connected, and the idea of like she's now in this low business.
Yeah.
That could have been the premise for the entire show, and instead they find out relatively early on,
probably like halfway through season 2,
midway
or
through
end of season, like maybe end of season 2.
No, like midway. Well, while they're still in the Catskills, they find out. The dad finds out there.
The dad finds out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's such a good bit.
And they earn.
Do you think she went? Sorry,
they don't rush it. They earn it.
Her on-stage performance is so good and so genuine. Do you think that they made her, or she decided to go just do some stand-up, like open mics or something?
I think they probably. I think she's a good enough actress, and also, well established enough in her personal life.
Yeah.
To have had the experience that would lend to this.
Yeah.
And then
that's another.
I also think that they direct her phenomenally.
You know what? I think they might have as good on-screen chemistry, those two, as Brad Pitt and George Clooney in Ocean's 11, 12, and 13.
Who are you talking to? Those
Susie
two?
And Miss Maisel.
Where it's very like
they know each other so
non-verbal rapport.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Which is super rare to actually genuinely see.
Honestly, I think the chemistry between all of the principal characters in the show is very, very strong.
And we were talking about Joel. So Joel is the husband that
he's such a sucker.
Well, Joel is the husband that cheats on Miss Maisel in the first episode. Then they separate, but they've got 2 kids. And the first episode, you watch that and you go, "This guy's a complete piece of shit."
And then as it goes longer, you realize that he's just a guy stuck in a life he doesn't like. That's it.
Yeah, and he's actually he's really a sweet quite guy. A good guy.
He's a sweet guy, and he's just trying. The thing
and
is,
also the rapport between there's no
they're so good together as characters too.
Yeah,
it's just
she doesn't hate him
when
he doesn't hate her.
When they learn to be themselves.
Yeah,
they get along better. And that she was stifling her own thing, he was stifling his own thing, and the comedy for him wasn't it.
Yeah,
the comedy for him was an escape from his father's business.
Yeah,
and then when he finally divests himself from his father's business, and becomes his own person, suddenly he's just a confident, happy person.
Yeah.
And
how good is the scene where
it's so great too, because that's such a real experience.
It's really good. And maybe partway through season 2, he finds out that she is doing comedy, and the bits that she's became famous for
are about him.
Are like he goes into this like little record store, and someone's recorded her first set where she's talking about like fuck this guy that like just left me for blah 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 blah, and he goes and sees her. He gets drunk and he goes and sees her at the gaslight,
he intends to make a scene.
Yeah, and he stands at the back of the club, and she's just killing on stage about him, and it's so good how they play that scene, because you can see the pain that he's experiencing by hearing this stuff about him, but he's aware enough that she's like, she's fucking amazing. And then there's a heckler.
Well, because in the first episode, there's people heckling him, and she kind of pushes for that to stop, I think, right?
I don't know. I don't remember that.
Yeah,
possibly.
I think I remember something about her. She actively is like, that wasn't cool of you, to the hecklers. And he kind of repays that tribute by beating the shit
in like one of the worst moments, where he realizes that everything that he thought he wanted to be was actually his wife is doing it, and she's talking about him on stage. He's just finding out that his ex-wife is doing his dream
better,
and
he's the punchline.
Yeah, and there's like 3 like macho dudes heckling her, and they leave, and as they leave, he's just drunk and mad, and he storms outside after them and basically beats the shit out of them.
Yeah.
And then he walks back down the street, and she goes, "She's good," or something like, "She's good, she's good." Like it's so good. It's so good.
That show, I mean, it does a very good job of presenting every character as somewhat sympathetic without feeling forced.
You know what also maybe it is even the bit characters, they're fucking fully fleshed out characters.
They're people.
I can't think of a single character that didn't feel 3-dimensional. Like, even if you go to... I'm trying to think of a small character.
The secretary even feels fairly fleshed out.
Even the secretary that's barely in it. Maisel's, like, blonde friend that the dad can never remember the correct name for. Always calls her, like, someone from for her childhood. Even she is, like, a fully formed, excellent character. And there's there's a couple of standout episodes in there. We'll talk about the guy that plays Lenny, but there's one specific episode where I think Marvelous Miss Maisel is with this new guy that she's dating, played by
Zach Levy.
Zach Levy, who's a doctor, and they're in a bar.
He's so good in that too.
He's fantastic in it. They're in a bar. Cheers.
I want to talk about Zach Levy later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're in a bar, and it's like a hipster bar, and they look over, and Zach Levy's like, "Oh my god, that's." I think they called him Damien somebody in the show, and it's this famous painter. And the
oh, that's a good episode.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite episodes. It might be one of my favorite episodes of TV. Actually, it was so good. And this guy is this famous painter that supposedly never sells his paintings. It's very difficult to try and buy his paintings, but he's a super famous artist, and he's totally shit-faced in the bar. Someone calls him out on it, and he says, "I'm not drunk." He stands up, and he like on the bar, and he reels off a soliloquy or something. Yeah. And Maisel and the guy go over and like say, "Hey, can we come
to your studio?" Right?
Yeah, basically, Maisel. The guy's a huge fan. Zach Levy's character is a huge fan of his, and Maisel goes up and says, "I'll talk to." The guy's like, "I don't want to talk to him. He's got this reputation." And she goes, "No, I'll do it. I'll go over." And earlier in the episode, they've just gone to this like sort of like frou bullshit art exhibit, and she didn't like none of the paintings there were good, apart from she went into this back room and there was this disgruntled artist selling like tiny paintings, and she saw this one painting, small like A4 size piece of paper, half meter by half meter type painting, that it was okay, of a portrait of a lady, and it spoke to her, and she bought it. And as they go up to see this artist, he's drunk, he's obviously attracted to Miss Maisel, and he said, and she's saying, "My friend here's a huge fan. I want to. He'd love to buy a painting from you." The artist character sees the painting in Miss Maisel's arms, and he says, "Why did you buy that?" And I can't remember whether she explains then or when. No, I think she does. She either explains then or she explains when they visit his artist thing the next day. But basically, she has a genuine, instead of just buying art for buying into it,
buying for value or buying for decoration.
It spoke to that specific piece. Spoke to her, and her explaining that to him touched him in a way where he's like, "Okay, come to my studio."
Hey, you like art?
Yeah,
and you don't just like stuff. You like art.
And then so they go to the studio the next day, and I can't remember the name of the actor that plays this guy, but it was so well done. So they go to the studio the next day. He says, "Okay, fine. You know what? Come to my studio tomorrow at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and you can buy a piece of my art," which is supposedly unheard of in this world. And they show up. The artist is already shit-faced drunk, gets a bottle of wine, pours it out, and then Zachary Levi's character, for some reason, has to go off and do something. And as he goes off and does something, I think he says, "I'm going to get a coffee or like a sandwich or something." And Ms. Maisel was left with this artist, and the artist basically is like, excuse me, will you sleep with me? Basically is like, yeah, anyway, but it's not like really pushing it. He's more like, yeah, so is there,
shoot your shot.
Is there any way that, I can sleep with you? And she's like, that's not going to happen. And then I think that's when he asks her about the painting. And after she gives him, and that's the whole reason why he invited them, because he saw something. I think in the bar she just explains like, "Oh, I found this painting in this back room," and I believe he knew who that artist was as well, and she explains why she bought it while she's in there, and Zachary's off, and she goes, "Okay," he says, "Okay, come with me," opens a secret door, and they go into a sort of back studio, and you don't see what they're looking at, but basically the camera's at the back of the room, and there's like a 2-person tall by like 1.5-person wide canvas that they allude to earlier is this painting that is just absolutely amazing that he will never sell. And she stands and she sees this thing, and it sort of represents through the dialogue as well. It represents an artist giving their all to their art.
Yeah,
gives, and he said like I'm resigned. Something like I'm resigned to be alone for the rest of my life because I can't, like, I've got nothing else to give because I've given everything to this piece of art and that's it now.
Yeah.
And it's just I don't know. It was done so well that
the show is just so phenomenally well made. But Zach Levy, he's in kind of an interesting position right now. And it's something that I want to talk about because I really haven't heard anybody talk about it.
The Shazam? Are you talking about the Shazam thing?
The Shazam thing.
What was he? Is he in Chuck?
He was.
Chuck was amazing.
He was in Chuck.
I love that. I blitzed that when I was like a couple of years ago.
I like him as an actor. I like him as a fella. He seems like a decent guy.
I think he went on the Joe Rogan podcast a year or so ago.
I was going to touch on that.
He was a bit of a goober on there.
Yeah, but he's an actor.
A bit of an actor. You know what I mean? Yeah.
But that's actually the thing I want to touch on here is, so he's the titular character in Shazam.
Excellent actor,
he plays Captain Marvel in Shazam, and he's Billy Batson's alter ego who looks like his dad, blah, 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 whatever. But Shazam 2 recently came out, and it did not do well theatrically. It's already coming to streaming, I think, this weekend. Came
and went. There was no fanfare in advertising as far as I saw.
There's a lot of problems that happened within development. Even the director hasn't disowned the movie, but he's not proud of it really. He's more
kind
upset
of disowned the movie.
No, he loves the movie. He's just upset that the movie wasn't given its due.
He had a Reddit AMA or something because he's very active on Reddit and YouTube. The director, what's the guy's
David
name?
F. Sandberg.
There we go. And his YouTube channel is called something Pony Face,
something like that.
Pony
he
something.
does a lot of like film school tutorials, like, hey, don't buy this light, just like make it out of some shit you can get at Home Depot for $10.
Don't buy a $3,000 light.
Yeah.
Go buy like $25 worth of Home Depot stuff.
Buy a tennis ball, a incandescent light bulb, and a China lantern.
Yeah.
And you've got the exact same thing. He's a really cool guy, but his so the movie came out and
sorry, on Reddit, I saw someone ask, like, they were talking about how this movie tanked, and someone tagged him and he came along.
Yeah.
And they said something about it being like kind of fucked. And he was like, I know, don't worry, I got all my money up front.
Yeah.
So he must have,
So what, I mean, just a brief rundown of the production. Captain Marvel, or now Shazam, fun fact, is the character or Captain Marvel Jr., Shazam's sidekick, Freddy, is the character that inspired Elvis to create his costume. Mm-hmm. The reason Elvis always had lightning bolts and capes and shit was because of Captain Marvel.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. I didn't know that. I just thought of a scene from Maisel. Yeah, keep going.
So, Captain Marvel is a comic book character. I think it was not Charleston. It was Midway. No, it was a different like area of comics that eventually got bought by DC and incorporated. But one of the villains of Captain Marvel that became really popular in the last 30 years, since DC acquired them, is Black Adam.
Yeah.
And back in 2005 or something at a convention, somebody mentioned to The Rock that he should play Black Adam in a movie. The Rock didn't know who this character was, researched it, and immediately went and petitioned to get the rights to it. So The Rock has been sitting on those rights for years trying to get a movie developed, even though Black Adam had maybe 10 comic appearances outside of the JSA at the time. And essentially he created this idea of the character in his head that nobody else in the reading history had. So when they were going to make Shazam 1, one of the original drafts of the script was about Captain Marvel fighting Black Adam, because they share a similar origin story, and the original comic Black Adam premiered in was about the narrative that they were going to do. And DC basically said, The Rock doesn't want to appear in this movie, therefore we can't let Black Adam into this.
And also, it should be so. The Rock is also known for kind of coming into franchises and steamrolling them, a la Fast and Furious.
Yeah, exactly. So he basically made them do a different story, which was great for Captain Marvel or Shazam 1, which involved Dr. Sivana, and Mr. Mind was in it for like 10 seconds. But the second movie, when they went into pre-production and they were writing the script, they wrote it with Black Adam as the main character because they were supposed to use him. Mm-hmm. The Rock steps in and says, "Fuck you, I'm going to make my own Black Adam movie with blackjack and hookers." And
is that what it was about? I never saw it.
No, it's not about blackjack and hookers. That's from fucking Futurama.
Oh.
But he comes in and he makes his own movie, and he basically steamrolls them, bankrolls it himself, and moves faster than Shazam 2 can get into production. So Shazam 2 now has to rewrite the script at like just before shooting to incorporate different characters and make up new shit while still using the shooting script that they were trying to make.
Yeah.
Which they introduced two new characters for Lucy Liu and Helen Mirren, who both simultaneously take over the role Black Adam was supposed to have in the film.
Huh. In Shazam 2?
Shazam 2, which just came out.
Right.
Black Adam infamously tanks at the box office. It did not do well. It was really bad. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson said that the hierarchy of the DCEU was about to change, and it did, but not in his favor because everybody involved with the movie got sacked, and now James Gunn runs the whole show.
Thank God.
Thank God.
We talked about that before.
Yeah, but so Zach Levy comes in, Zach Levy and David F. Sandberg are very outspokenly like, please watch this movie.
Yeah.
Because we really gave it our all because we were not really given a lot of help with it.
Yeah. They kind of just got fucked. They got really fucked.
They got really fucked by a system that was against them the whole way. And
is the movie any? Have you seen it? You haven't seen it?
I haven't seen it yet, but
is by all means, good, but just not well advertised.
By all means, it looks fairly good. The first movie was quite good.
The first movie was really fun,
and I like David Sandberg as a director. I think he's done fine work. The problem is
he has good.
He's got a good language.
Movie. Yeah,
he's got a good language about him. And it comes from him being like a very minimalist shooter. Yep. If you see, he's put up some like previs for the movie. And his previs is him playing with action figures, and shooting them on iPhones.
Because I just remember the way he came about was he was making
like 30-second YouTube shorts.
He was making 30-second horror shorts with his wife. Mm-hmm. He was just conscripting his wife to play like a ghost or yeah.
So they're really interesting. But so Zach Levy infamously now had a breakdown on social media, begging people to see the movie and saying that they were put in an unfair position. And people have been fucking making fun of this dude relentlessly too.
Was it a breakdown, or maybe you're thinking of something else that I didn't see? But from all I saw was basically there were rumors about this whole thing with what The Rock did, and then somebody posted this story, and then Zachary Levi retweeted it, the screenshot of that, confirming it.
So he did,
or did he say something else after that?
He's done like a couple Instagram live videos. Where he's answered questions and a couple things, and he's not doing well. And everybody, people are really digging into him and calling him all sorts of slurs, loser.
Because you also have that
shithead,
that DC Zack Snyder fanboy weird.
But it's not. This isn't divorced from the Zack Snyder stuff.
Yeah.
And the worst thing about this is if you look at if you listen to the episode of Joe Rogan that he was on. Towards the middle or end, it's hard to get through the beginning because he's a bit of a faffy dude.
Yeah.
He starts talking about how like after Chuck, he dealt with horrible anxiety and depression, and he was suicidal, and how he was really at the end of his rope and he thought his career was over until he got the call back for Shazam.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn, that's such a shame because he's so fucking good in Miss Maisel.
So he thought that was the end of his career. And Shazam brought him back from the brink. And now not only has the second movie failed fairly unjustly, if I have to make a judgment call, but him trying to speak out and get people to like whip people to motivate them to go see this movie.
Because what he's really doing is good for the film business.
Yeah,
it's good.
And
if you want quality movies,
and also like Shazam is a fun, shitty. Like he's not like a Superman or a Batman that has all this mythos about him. The Shazam, I think is it Charleston, whatever the brand of comics that it was that was made from. They were like old style kind of Wizard of Oz magic type stories where there's wizards who give you power and his biggest enemy is a fucking psychic caterpillar. Like it's wacky crap that's made for like fun schlock.
Yeah.
And the movies do a good job of portraying that in a way that like the Batman and Superman movies don't really appeal.
Yeah.
And the fact that his second movie failed in a really sad way that wasn't...
But Shazam was like a pretty kind of cult
It wasn't due to the failure of the film itself. It was due to the surrounding circumstances of its production.
Just got steamrolled.
And then him talking
big shake up about with the in DC.
Yeah. And then him talking about the movie is being kind of lambasted as him being also, a fool and a loser.
I want to hear... I want them to... Actors should be able to... and
talk
production
about...
people should be able to talk up about that without getting fucking blacklisted or
beaten up, essentially.
Yeah.
But the sad thing is, like, this is a guy who's been outspoken about how this role...
Because who knows how much damage that is now going to be done to his career because he came out against The Rock.
But this is a guy who's been outspoken about how this role saved his life. And now him talking about, like, trying to get people to see this movie so that because he believes the movie's a good movie, and they're saying all sorts of really terrible, wicked shit about him.
Yeah. People on the internet are just
yeah. I know people on the internet, this, that, and the other, but like, you know, we just came off the heels of like the whole Free Britney campaign.
Well,
where like 20 years after Britney shaves her head and like does all that wacky shit, people are like, oh, maybe now we should give her a chance.
I mean, The Rock, everything that The Rock is doing is so...
Are you not excited for the live action Moana that he just announced?
What? I didn't know about that at all.
He just announced live action Moana with him reprising his role as Maui.
All these celebrities, you know,
the movie came out like 5 years ago.
He's supposed to be this big, you know, he's modeled himself after this action hero fitness influencer. Meanwhile, he's fucking like
mid.
He's pumped to the fucking gills with steroids.
I don't even care about the steroids.
I don't give a fuck about that.
Do whatever you're gonna do, but like, also, don't pretend you're a great actor.
You're doing that, you know, but you're also on I would say probably an objectively unhealthy way of like you know that at the same time you've got an energy drink that's basically just sugar water and a tequila. Speaking of which, did you see that Jennifer Lopez just announced a wine?
I can't give a shit about any celebrities doing anything ever.
This one, she just announced a wine.
Jennifer Lopez, if you'd like to come on the podcast, you're more than welcome. I'll send you my address.
Yeah. But she announced the wine and within like 20 minutes of her putting up the Instagram post or whatever, a ton of her fans were like, aren't you like totally sober? And have been very outspoken about it.
It's money and...
Yeah, it's money.
People need to stop treating actors like they're not actors.
Yeah.
They're actors. They lie for a living. Their entire profession 100 years ago was considered the lowest possible profession that anybody could have while still being employed.
Yeah.
Acting...
That was what the dregs of society were allowed to do.
And I'm not disparaging acting as a career.
No, actors are fantastic. They're very sensitive people.
I'm just saying that an actor is
not scientists. They're not brain scientists.
An actor is not the person that you should be going to. I mean, certainly there may be actors who are very well read and very well respected.
Well, I think I know what I know what the point you're going to make is.
There's areas of expertise that you need to respect.
Actors have the ability.
They're not generalists. They're specialists.
Actors. A lot of people put a lot of credence into what actors will say on a talk, like how deep an actor might sound on a talk show. They're actors though. They're supposed to convince you.
They're paid to read fake shit to you and make it sound real.
Yeah.
That's their job. If my job is to take 5 lines of of words
Yeah.
and put them into a machine, and I do that the best of anybody in the world, then if you give me 5 lines, I'm going to put it into a machine.
Yeah.
If you give me 5 lines and I'm supposed to deliver it properly,
you get these,
then I'm going to deliver
you get these. It's weird though, because I think most actors are like mid, decent.
Yeah.
But then I do think that the best of the best actors are the people that are perfectly equipped to talk about human experience and human emotions, because they're the ones that they've studied the human experience and they've done enough. The good ones have done enough introspection.
I agree with that, and that's also why the good actors also have a harrowing problem with substance abuse and with domestic abuse and with all sorts of other issues, because they are heavily, almost harmfully empathetic individuals.
That's you.
I don't like rum.
Yeah, nor do I.
Rum puts me off. I got sick off rum 10 years ago, and it's just never. It's never been.
I got something for you. Give me 1 sec.
Unopened.
Oh, nice, cool.
Yeah.
I thought we'd all done.
Yeah. So I just.
I'm still working on this.
When people say like Jennifer Lopez, right?
Jennifer Lopez.
She is a teetotaler.
I tell you what.
South Park ruined that.
When South Park goes out to get somebody, they do it so totally and completely.
Yeah, but Jennifer Lopez. Jennifer Lopez
they marry
is not
that person's
a,
identity to their representation of them so well that there's no coming back from that.
Sometimes
they fucked over Scientology.
Yeah.
Matt Damon. There's nothing wrong with Matt Damon. Matt Damon's a great actor, but they just so totally.
One of my buddies from school. One of my buddies from school hates Matt Damon, and every time I ask him...
He's a fantastic actor.
Every time I ask him, like, why do you hate Matt Damon? Because his only answer is like, fucking Matt Damon, he's stupid. Matt Damon. And it's the exact voice from fucking Team America.
For anyone that doesn't know this, if you haven't watched Team America, go watch Team America. It was the guys who made South Park, Matt Stone and Trey Parker.
Yeah.
Well, the other way around.
Yeah.
That's
right.
That's right.
Matt Stone and Trey Parker.
So, famous for making South Park. It's been running for I think it's on its 26th season now.
They're the closest modern entertainment has to Mel Brooks. I'll stand by that.
Yes. They're pretty much the only people that can actually just say whatever the bloody hell they want.
Yeah. Damn
near whatever the hell they want. And when the only thing they couldn't explicitly say was...
Can I just interject here? I don't mean that in they couldn't make Blazing Saddles today. The only reason they couldn't make Blazing Saddles today is because nobody's as fucking funny as Richard Pryor and Mel Brooks. That's the only reason that couldn't be made today. The reason that I say that Trey Parker and Matt Stone are like Mel Brooks and the closest that they get is because they're the only people in the industry who appreciate film and theater in the same way that Mel Brooks did in order to make satire on the current social standing of life.
Yeah.
Nobody else in the satire realm right now is that much a fan of theater.
They can pretty much do whatever they could. I'm pretty sure that. I mean, so if you haven't seen it, so specifically South Park, we'll get back to Team America in a second. But South Park, there's a fantastic YouTube documentary. Excuse me, about how they make the episodes.
Yeah,
they make the episodes from start to finish in 7 days.
Yeah.
Or 6 days. Excuse me, as in they start
writing,
and also this is like. The episode airs the next week or 2 weeks out, right? They start writing on the Monday. They spend 2 or 3 days writing, ideating on ideas. Then
the animation is fairly cheap.
They do the voices, they do the animation, and it's from start to finish. It's done in 6 days, and then it airs, which is why it can be so current. And so that's awesome, but it also allows them to basically. I'm fairly certain that they can just do oh, all right, we're in the 26th season.
We can do whatever the fuck we want.
We'll do 2 episodes next week and the week after. I feel like making a couple of episodes and then airing them. All right, cool. We'll do 2 episodes.
Yeah.
I've got nothing. Do you have anything to make this week? Nah, I can't think of anything that's interesting me.
We'll just wait a week.
Yeah, no. A couple of weeks ago, oh, that's a good idea. Oh,
anyway,
we'll
Team
release
America
another
with Matt Damon.
Yes. So yeah, they make Team America, great movie. Fucking nailed the geopolitical. Well, they nailed the geopolitical position of America, and this was the time of the Iraq War and
North Korea with Kim Jong-il.
Yeah, oh my god, yeah. Who doesn't now that's watched that movie? He's a cockroach. There's no way of not. not separating those ideas. Even Michael fucking Moore that was in that movie was so funny.
So they have all of these Hollywood actors as like super spies in the movie.
Yes, and then because what is the premise? The best spies are actors, basically. Like the main character is actually an actor. They need him to act, infiltrate a terrorist cell. Yeah,
but they have all of these different puppets. They're all puppets. They have all these different puppets.
What's the name of the show? Oh God, there was the British show with the Team 4 or.
Thunderbirds?
Thunderbirds. Yeah. Thunderbirds are
It's all in that style.
Yeah, it was a huge in like the I think 70s and 80s
80s
TV show era. So
it's all in that style, and they have all of these actor puppets.
Actors have these scenes. But so when the Matt Damon
when they received the Matt Damon puppet.
Well, it wasn't when they received
production.
It was
when they saw it for production.
No, it wasn't when they received it. I'm pretty sure it was because they were integral to the whole process all the way along the way. Yeah. When the puppet came out of the mold, something fucked up in the process to where his face was all melted.
Yeah.
So instead of just redoing it, they just it's hilarious. We're just gonna make him brain damaged.
So Matt Damon's only lines.
They killed all his lines to the point where, like, I'm sure he had some funny lines, but instead they just everything.
Every time Matt Damon's on screen, his only line is Matt Damon.
It's so funny,
and it is.
And
so
also,
funny.
by the way, they got no clearance for any of the
they're public figures. They don't really need clearance.
Well, they do need for that. They got sued.
No, they're parody. You can portray anybody publicly that way.
I think there was a lot of legal stuff after the fact. But it's almost like if you're a well-rounded public figure, being ridiculed by them is a good thing.
Yeah, right.
In a way.
Yeah, because it means there's really no skeletons.
Yes.
Yeah. So South Park. How did we get here?
It came from Matt Damon.
Matt Damon. I like him as an actor.
I think he's great. Yeah. I think he's a really good actor. Really good actor. He's like one of the top actors in the world, I think. How did we get here from Matt Damon, though?
Listeners, I know some of you are listening to me on Alexa right now.
Everyone that went, what's the podcast I can listen to about chickens?
Yeah. What's chickens? And then accidentally ended up here.
And for some reason,
if you're listening to me on Alexa, my ad on Twitter is Punbelievable. Please,
come follow
it's linked in the description. Please don't follow it. Literally just DM me or tweet at me and tag me in something and explain to me why the hell you're listening to this. Because you've obviously listened to like 5 episodes already.
The most fascinating part of this podcast is we're doing it because it's really fun. Just so fun about doing this. This is the second podcast we've done in one day, a couple hours. But
we generally end up doing like 2 or 3 every session.
I'm just so we're both totally fascinated.
But
what the fuck are you listening to this?
This is. I mean, I like hearing myself talk. I like hearing myself talk, but like, what the fuck are you guys here for?
Every episode is like kind of not related to the other ones.
Yeah.
Some we're just moaning about movies. There's at least 3 or 4 episodes where we're just moaning.
Yeah,
it was just a totally unfunny listen. Then when you have Tom on and we talk about pooping in holes in the desert.
I genuinely don't understand what you're listening for. I'm glad that you are listening, and I would like you to give me input so that I could figure out what you're listening for, and so that we could tailor this a little bit more. Because
maybe that's the secret. We don't tailor.
Yeah.
Because,
otherwise, if that's the case, then just I don't know, tweet me.
I would like feedback.
Unbelievable, and tell me something like just say the word pineapple. If you say pineapple, I'll know. Just do whatever the fuck you want.
How did you find the podcast in the first place? Because when you put the Chicken Coop in, nothing comes up. You have to specifically put the Chicken Coop Podcast, not Chicken Coop Podcast, the Chicken Coop Podcast.
Yeah, we're
even though we're actually Chicken Coop Podcast, not the Chicken Coop Podcast.
No, we're the Chicken Coop.
Not how we've listed it.
All right. Well, on Google, all of them turn up. We have actually great SEO. I think that's part of it.
Who knows why?
But yeah, if you're listening to this, please tell me why you're listening to it.
It's a podcast with a name totally unrelated to anything.
I'm genuinely quite curious.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, it's not even the worst podcast out there in terms of like title discretion. You know,
I think we're doing I mean, I don't really care. I'm still gonna. It's
just
fun.
I don't give a shit. If you'd like to be on the podcast and you're in the LA area, tag me, Unbelievable. We'll make it happen. Fuck it.
If you're interesting.
Yeah,
I was thinking
even if you're not here, fuck it. We'll video call you in. We're really desperate. Please give us contact.
I mean, yeah, honestly, if there's someone interesting that of the 30 listeners that we have, 40 listeners that we have.
Okay, wait, no, I actually want to know who 50% of our listeners over the last 30 days. For some reason, we had listeners over the last 30 days. We haven't uploaded in a month.
I thought Bernard listened to us. He didn't. He said he listened to the first half of the first episode.
Yeah. So 50% of our listeners over the last 30 days were over the age of 45. And I need to know exactly who the fuck you are, because why are you listening to me?
I gotta pee. I'll be back in a second.
All right, I'm going to actually take a whiz too. We're going to pause here.
Oh, while we're doing this, I'm gonna leave it on. Fuck it.
Leave it running.
While I'm doing this, just watch.
Is it Maisel bit?
Yeah, this is. How nice is that scene though?
Well, I mean, again, like, so we're coming back. Alex, we want to just run through what we watched.
Yeah, I showed Adrian real quick the scene. It's at the very halfway through the last episode of the 4th season of Marvelous Miss Maisel, and it's the two dads. One of the dads
gotta get a haircut.
Keels over. I think it's Moish. Moish is keeled over in the early episode, and everyone thinks he's dead. And Abe, who has just in that season stopped his very well paid and prestigious job at the university, and is now getting paid like
pennies.
Fuck all, working at a like a beatnik hip newspaper, which is now his calling. And he's calling around saying, this guy is. So the story of the guy that killed over Moish is he saved 13 Jews from Nazi Germany or something like that. He's objectively a great man.
He's a good businessman and kind of a pompous jerk.
Yeah, every time he walks into a room,
he's an ego.
Yeah. But everyone thinks he's dead, and he's like laid up in a hospital.
He's one of those guys where when he's alive, everybody likes him around, and then when he's dead, just
well, other way around. Yeah. So Abe is it calls around in the episode, like trying to find like some famous writers famous newspaper writers to write a good obituary for this guy, and everyone basically no one wants to do it because it's a fucking random dude that you're being asked to do.
You have two characters who've been largely antagonistic to each other.
Also, they've been. I think in the 3rd or 4th season, they have to live with each other for a while, and they cannot stand each other.
Even from the first season, they hate each other.
They're the parents of two divorced people.
Even when they were together, they didn't like them. Yeah.
But so the scene is he gets so he can't find anyone to write this obituary, so he's like, fuck it, I'll do it myself. So he writes an obituary, and he rushes to hospital. He gets a call, and he rushes to hospital, and because he thinks, oh fuck, Abe's dead.
Yeah.
Abe's dead. Sorry, Moish is dead. And he shows up, and as he rushes into the room, it's him clutching the obituary he wrote on a piece of paper on a typewriter moments before in his hand, and he rushes into the room. And everyone's like, "Oh, hey, what's up?" And Abe and Moish is sitting upright in bed, like, "Oh,
he's
hi."
like, "Hey,
and he goes,
I'm awake."
I thought I'm dead, and I mean, you just watched it more than I did. Essentially,
and he gives this very like.
What are you holding in your hand? He's like,
He gives this. They convince him, or they pressure him to read the obituary out loud
because he's like, "Well, I'm right here. Read it out." Yeah.
And he reads it, and for two characters that have largely been antagonistic and begrudging towards each other,
it's like
It's a very touching, like very sincere obituary for a person that impacted him a lot, and It's a very masculine relationship where not the antagonism to each other, but where
it's sensitive masculinity.
Yeah. It's like Tolkien-esque where there's a thank you in there, but it's quiet. And I don't want to make this a bigger thing than it absolutely needs to be, but let's just carry on and appreciate that this moment happened without talking about it.
And then also, you know what I love about it so much, I think, about that moment? So basically, he reads the obituary out, and there's this lovely moment at the end and he goes, "But you're not dead." So It doesn't matter. He answers like, and I miss you. But you're not dead, so it doesn't
I don't.
matter. And he's standing there timidly in his coat and the paper's like over the top of his hat.
Yeah.
And the wives are like, oh, that's nice. Let's just go get some ice cream.
And none of the women give a shit about it.
No one cares. And then they go out, and in silence, the camera goes back to
Moishe.
They
do a reverse and shot.
They're on Abe, who just read the soliloquy, and he kind of shrugs, and they go back to Moishe and his kind of brow furrows, and he just puts his hand on his chest and mouths "thank you."
Yeah,
and they go back to,
and it's so
Moishe
sincere.
Again. Yeah.
And it doesn't seem put on or anything. And it's just such a...
It's almost like the moment you'd really want at the end of your... You want that at the end of your life, because it's... Hearing that you haven't been a piece of total piece of shit.
Yeah.
Being like,
have you ever had... I mean, I've had this in my experience, and I think it's a very common experience for guys, is that one friend that just fucking hates your guts, and you hate his guts, but like there's chemistry there and you just work well together.
Yeah. You and me.
No, we get on way too well for that.
Yeah.
No, I have friends from from high school, from college.
Yeah.
I mean, Brian was like that for a long time. God bless you. I love you, Brian. You're my brother, but like it took me a while to understand the language there. Funny enough, my buddy Ryan from university, if you're listening, you won't listen to this. Fuck you, Ryan. He and I
had a contentious relationship or something.
Not contentious, just like antagonistic.
Yeah.
I go left, he goes right. Same all the fucking time. And it's just one of those things. And
you can't help but they're fucking so annoying.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where you also like you fight.
Like them. You respect them.
Not only do you not you get along without getting along, and then you also sometimes egg them on because it's just entertaining and fun.
It's too easy,
and it's a two-way street.
Not to do it.
You know.
Yeah.
I don't know how universal that is as like a human experience.
I imagine to be in a show like this.
In a show, sure, but like I'm just talking.
The reason why that moment works is because
you
relate to it.
You have also seasons worth
like,
of.
For specifically as a guy watching that, it's nice to see sensitive but strong male characters.
Yeah.
Who are. You know, I mean, I can see relationships. I can see
it's
older male people in my family that would be like that together. You know?
Well, like, I mean,
like you're like
not to get quote unquote political about it, right?
Yeah.
But
you're going to talk about like John McCain talking about like when that lady's like
no.
Oh, I was going to say
I'm talking about like there's a lot of talk about toxic masculinity.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talk about it, and it's valid. A lot of it is valid. There's a lot of ways for masculinity, whatever the fuck that means, to be toxic, however you describe it. However, the discussion about toxic masculinity is never supplanted by discussions about positive masculinity. Yeah. It's mostly focused on the negativity, and it's almost never talking about like, hey, here's ways that here's ways that guys behave that are good to each other. Mm-hmm. And I feel like 90% of the negative discourse about the topic of toxic masculinity could be gotten rid of if anything about it was portrayed as positive. Mm-hmm. If you talk about guys being sensitive to one another, or that moment that every guy's had with his buddy where you're going through some shit and the guy shows up with a can of beer and you guys just you don't talk about it, but you talk about stuff. And it's not about bottling down the feelings. It's about getting out other things that are adding to the stress.
There's when my dad passed away, my cousin Josh, it was very surreal. You know, my dad died early in the day, and then we drove home from the hospital, slept badly for like an hour or two, and then we had to go to the service, like we had like a service at my family's house.
Yeah, you guys bury him early.
Yeah, no. I mean, I can't remember. It's such a blur, but a huge comfort was Josh didn't really say anything to me, but he was just there.
Yeah.
and it was like a huge. I don't know. It was very weird, but I really appreciated him. Like just the presence of a good friend. Like obviously, I'm surrounded by my family. I'm with my mom. I'm with my sister. But the fact that like Josh was there as well and didn't fucking was just around me, like close to me.
If you needed to talk about something, you know he's there. If you don't if you don't want to, he's also there to just get your mind off things.
Yeah, it was,
and it's such a common experience among guys, and it's what you need in that moment. And you know,
and also not just I guess not just male relationships. I think the same early in the night before. People were coming and visiting in the hospital. Like we kind of put the word out, like, hey, if your friends, you want to come say goodbye, come say goodbye. And a second AD called Michaeline Mundo, who I'd worked with, my dad worked with, like on a couple guest book season 1, and a couple other things. Heard, and then she like raced to the hospital. But when she got to the lobby, it was like too late. Yeah. Not he hadn't passed away, but it was like too Visiting far gone. It was like not okay to visit now. And so we said, I'm sorry, you can't come up. And what she did instead was like totally understand. She went and got one of those Starbucks portable coffee things. Yeah. And some food.
Oh, that's such a film business thing to do too.
But it was perfect. Like basically Starbucks coffee thing and some food, and just said, hey, this is like left it like
you're gonna need this.
Left it in the lobby. And it is still to this day, like, I think if the situation was reversed and this happened to a friend of mine, I would do the exact same thing. It was the perfect.
It's exactly what you need at the time.
Yes. Which is kind of what that scene was. It was really where we're getting. Yeah, it was like
it's just such a real experience, and I can't explicitly say that this is not a female experience. Yeah. But I know as a guy, it's something that is very, very untreaded in explicit, I
wonder how ridiculous it sounds to women as talking about this.
I have no idea. This is a normal thing to do. Yeah, but guys...
You supported each other. Good for you, you fucking idiots. So you're supposed to.
Yeah, but guys don't talk about this kind of stuff. Yeah. And when it happens, it feels very, very special. There's a threshold of...
There's a point in your maturity, and there's a point in your relationship with a guy where you can do that, and then it feels really special.
Well, there's the whole meme about like what is it in Parks and Recreation? Ron Swanson talks like, I once worked with this guy, and worked with him for 5 years. Never learned his name. Best coworker I ever had. We still never talk sometimes. Yeah. And I mean, there's tons of jokes about like how well-trod comedy bits about dudes who just talk to each other once a year, don't know that the other one got married and has like 3 kids. Yeah. And it's very true. Like
I have plenty of like objectively some of my best friends in England that I literally haven't spoken to for a year, 2, 3 years.
Yeah, I talk to some of my buddies from college like once every 6 to 8 months.
Yep. But I know if I had a huge issue, call them up, or they just, if they heard about it, they'd, hey, what do you need?
Yeah, exactly.
What do you need?
And I feel like that is... I don't need more support than that.
It's just emotionally.
I don't need more support than that. And I feel like anything more than that from another guy or from somebody who's not like explicitly in my family or intimate with me, I feel like that would just be very, very excessive. Yeah. Because I would that's too many people to deal with, and I don't want to deal with more people than I have to.
I know that if James heard, he would.
He's a great guy too.
I love James to bits. He would do anything like In fact, he even the whole business was summer. He was like, "I'm getting on a plane like tomorrow."
Yeah. I mean, thank God I've never been in that position, but yeah.
It's weird. It's very weird.
It's odd, and I feel like it's something that I don't think it needs to be talked about on like an interpersonal level, but.
If it was, I don't think it would be special. It's really weird.
Yeah,
it's a really. That is toxic masculinity.
No, but it's really touching when it does happen. Yeah. Right. But it needs to be known that these things do happen, and it is part of the male experience.
It's kind of
it's a positive thing that like maybe other people don't see.
It's a very, in a way, like a deep-seated love.
Mm-hmm. It's fraternal love. It's brotherly love.
Yeah,
it's the same. I mean, it's familial.
And it is. You're right. It's some of the most special
experience.
when it happens. It's very special.
It's a dude looking at you. It's a person you respect and admire, who has that mutual respect and admiration for you, looking at you from 10 feet away in a crowded room, and just looking at you, understanding what you're thinking, nodding, and then moving on.
Yeah.
And that's a very different feeling than somebody coming up to you, overbearing. What do you need? Let me do, pushing you into a chair, massaging your feet, that whole fucking thing. Yeah. That's a different experience, and it's good in its own right, but it is nowhere near as special and as respectful.
Yeah.
As simply being understood and understanding that there's a path ahead.
Yeah.
Very, very strange universal experience. I mean, I can't speak to whether or not this is common
at least the guys
across the gender barrier. But it's definitely a thing that
maybe it is, or maybe women have a different.
Maybe women have a different experience. Like that's valid enough as it is. But all I'm saying is, like, if the conversation about masculinity centered around positive aspects like this that are heartwarming and make you feel needed and make you feel appreciated, more than stuff like, oh yeah, we got to be big and strong, we got to fight each other, respect and honor. Like, yeah, those bad things deserve to be put in the spotlight, but like, if you're not going to replace them with good things, then you're not offering alternatives. You're just saying shit that's fucking incendiary, and you're going to convince 50% of the population that you hate them. Yeah.
I mean, going back to that scene in Marvelous Miss Maisel, that was what made it so special, I think, was just this almost unspoken
bond.
It was like a sensitive, lovely masculine moment that wasn't
share the load.
It wasn't shat on.
Yeah.
It was just so nice. It was nice. It's nice to see those things. Also, another aspect of that show that I think was so good, and so do you. How fucking good is Lenny, the actor that plays Lenny Bruce?
Lenny Bruce.
So there's a scene, Lenny Bruce, famous comedian, blah, 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 blah. The actor that plays him is spot on, and they do a couple of things in the show where they mimic real life interviews. Mm-hmm. There's one bit, it's a famous show with, I believe the lady's called Mom's Mabel, or something like that, who's a famous female, give me a sec, a female, a black female stand-up comedian at that time who was very famous in her own right, and Wanda Sykes played that character. They're like recreating a show that happened. And she fucking nailed it.
Yeah.
And then there was another bit, well, there were a couple of bits that Lenny Bruce had done, and I messaged you about this after I watched the episode. There's a famous Lenny Bruce bit where he went on a late night talk show.
Yeah.
And he sings a song. He's doing a comedy bit that turns into a song. It's like 10 minutes long.
He's very avant-garde.
It's really weird. But in the I believe in the real life version, the backdrop
it's squares.
Like
it's a grid.
It's like a, what are they called? Like the things you change behind. What are those things called? That's what it looks like. It's like a
fuck does that even
when you you see them in movies and you got like those
sets.
It's like a fence that folds into it itself with the whatever. It's like a set that's basically like a grid pattern with squares at every like vertices of the grid.
Yeah.
And they do it in Marvelous Miss Maisel, and instead of squares,
it's circles.
They do circles. And it's so good. It's such a good, accurate representation if you go and watch the show and then you go and watch the...
It's a good way of showing that, like, this isn't the real story. It's just, like, kind of sublimated from it.
I really liked it because hopefully it was intentional, but to me it was them saying... It was a huge nod of respect to Lenny Bruce. It was... I would like to think that it was them saying... we are not like we're not copying you. We're paying homage to you. Like what we do can never be what you've done, but we're just. It's not the same thing, but yeah.
Lenny Bruce in that show
I think I said it better in text, but yeah.
Lenny Bruce in that show makes me want to stop shaving and start smoking cigarettes.
He's so
there's
fucking
something
weird.
there's something just cool about that. Like that I am permanently hungover and fucked up. Even the woman who plays his girlfriend in that too.
Yes, I said we can do a great job imitating you, but we're not the real thing.
The woman who plays his girlfriend in that is also spot on for
who like, was, right? He had this very contentious relationship with his wife,
long-time girlfriend who was always kind of just there. I mean,
is this any good? This one? Yeah. Yeah. God damn, that show's good.
Actually, I like that. Yeah, it's more tart. The show's good. Yeah.
What else have you been watching?
What else I've been watching? I've been watching the show. It's new. It's called Animal Control. It stars Joel McHale. It's a sitcom.
Huh.
It's about an.
You were
animal
pretty
control.
mad. What was the sitcom that just left the service? You were irate about this.
Yeah, I am. This is something that I fucking hate.
You should explain first that sitcoms are kind of like your like.
I like what my what
your
Alex.
Little teddy bear, sleeping teddy bears.
Yeah, they're my comfort zone, bro.
Yeah.
I like sitcoms. I think there's a lot of structure in there, and
sitcoms are great.
As far as sitcoms go, Arrested Development is the gold standard.
I never got into it.
Oh my god, how far did you get? Watch the entire first
Which
season.
one's Arrested Development's the one with the dysfunctional family, right?
Yeah, that's every sitcom.
That's true. But the one with
Jason Bateman and Will Arnett.
Yes.
You got to watch the first season and then get as far into the second one as you can, because
how many seasons?
You know what? It's 3 seasons, 4 seasons technically.
Oh, I thought it was more.
No, they got canceled after their third season, and then like
pee again. Jesus Christ.
5 or 6 years later, they got renewed for their 4th.
Damn.
In the times where that was not a normal thing to do. Arrested Development.
It was a huge hit, right?
It's
sleeper. There's Arrested. What are the big ones? Arrested Development, Modern Family.
No. Arrested Development is in a different category altogether.
What about
Friends? Like it's Frasier,
but it's in there
Seinfeld. With Arrested
Parks and Recreations.
It's so different.
Is it?
Yeah, because all of those ran like in consecutive seasons. One a year, or one every year and a half. With Arrested Development, it was 1, 2, and 3, and then they got canceled, and then it came back because the reason it got canceled was because Fox kept putting it on bad time slots, which is the Fox way of doing
I just heard someone talking about.
It's the same way that fucking Firefly got canceled. So
isn't that no one has to think about that now. But that was a real thing.
It was a real thing. If you got put on a shit time slot, you were fucked.
Someone talked about this they called it the shit sandwich because they were between 2 good shows they wanted to watch. Oh no, 2 bad shows or something.
Yeah.
But no one wanted to watch.
Arrested Development, the reason that I love that show is, honestly, watch the first season all the way through, front to back.
Where can I watch it? Because didn't it just get
No, it's on Netflix. First 3 seasons on Netflix.
Which is the one that you said...
Number 4, season 4.
It's gone from Netflix?
No, so I'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
But watch the first season, and then don't go to the second season. Watch the first season again. That show is so densely packed with jokes and references and foreshadowing that every time you watch it, you pick something else up.
Huh.
That you wouldn't have got if you hadn't already watched it.
Is it sort of like a Curb Your Enthusiasm thing?
It's
you learn the characters so much.
It is on the same level as Curb.
Right, okay.
In terms of like how tightly written it is.
Because Curb, you know the characters so well that you see a situation start to evolve into the future.
Yeah.
And it makes you laugh without anything happening. But like, I know where this is going.
It kind of operates on the same logic on the second watch. Because there's events that happen in the plot later in a season that are so heavily foreshadowed early on, but if you're not cued into what the end point is, you will never understand what the start point is. It's set up and payoff at the highest degree. So the problem that...
Real quick, Larry David's the only other person apart from Matt Stone and Trey Parker. Those two.
Yeah.
Or those two.
But I don't
shows.
think Larry David has the same appreciation for non-comedy forms of art. Because Matt Stone, Trey Parker, and Mel Brooks love all film. They love horror films. They love drama. They love comedies. They love musicals. They love theater.
Possibly.
You know,
maybe he does, but it's not represented in his shows.
It's not as visible, which is why I think
it
Matt
is
Stone
quite,
and Trey Parker. I mean, Matt Stone and Trey Parker made fucking musicals, man, on Broadway. They
So
made
does-
one of the
so does
best
Harry
Broadway
Davis,
musicals.
Fatwa, the musical.
So anyway, Arrested Development, definitely give it a watch. But what they did, so Netflix picked, it was one of their first original series.
Huh.
When they picked it up.
As well as that guy. Sorry, again. What was that one? Was it Philadelphia? It was the guy from The Sopranos who was the guy that's actually like a drummer or something, or a musician,
I have no
big
idea.
musician. Go on. I'm trying to think because they had Orange is the New Black when it first came out.
No. This is before Orange is the New Black. Way before. So they had
That was their
one.
first
They had one
original
show
one.
that was it was foreign, and then they had Arrested Development, which they picked up for the 4th season after maybe 5 or 6 years of people saying like
Netflix did.
Yeah.
So they brought it back.
they brought it back from Fox. So Fox canceled it in season 3. The entire season 3
So there's a
was
huge gap between.
yeah.
Huh.
So the entirety of season 3, in the actual season, they have bits where the narrator is constantly saying like, "Please watch our show. They're going to cancel it." Like very, very
In the
visible.
show?
Yeah. The narrator, by the way, is Ron Howard.
What?
Yeah. So the
Why the fuck did they get him? Or how did they get him?
who knows? He was an executive producer on this project.
Good for him.
Yeah. So
I mean, he started off as an actor.
yeah. So the 4th season is set in the real time period after the 3rd season.
Huh.
So it skips a couple years and just starts off, but they have time to fill in between those seasons. So what they do is I think it was a 12 episode order. They have 6 principal cast members. So each cast member gets 2 episodes, one to fill in the time that had elapsed.
Season 4?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
So they had 1 episode each to fill in the time that had elapsed since the last season.
In a row? So episode 1 is one character, episode 2 is another character, episode 3 is another character.
So part of it had to do with scheduling issues because they couldn't get everybody at the same time.
Yeah.
But the other part is because they needed to fill in such a big gap that they kept putting new people in. Or they kept they had to separate each story. So when season 4 came out, I loved it because I watched it in one go.
Yeah.
And it felt like a 6-hour long episode of Arrested Development, where there are so many in-jokes in the first season, the first half of the season, that pay off so heavily in the second half. But if I watched that 1 episode a day for 12 days, I probably wouldn't have noticed all of those jokes paying off.
Yeah.
And then rewatching it in that order is so much funnier as well. What Netflix did was a couple of years ago, after years of people saying, the 4th season was trash and it didn't make any sense because it was so non-linear, Netflix went back and recut it in chronological order, where they spliced all the episodes together to make more, quote-unquote, more sense to casual viewers, so each episode would be standalone. And that order is, first off, like the narrator is explaining every joke as it happens. It's so much less...
They re-narrated it?
Yeah, they added new narration from Ron Howard. And it's so much less fun. It's so much less funny across the board, episode by episode, but also as a season. It's just not... It doesn't hit the same
I gotta
line.
pee again as well. Just talk crap for a second.
The worst part about it is that Netflix took off the original version of the cut.
What?
Yeah. They removed the original cut off Netflix and they retained that secondary cut where they
So you can't find that at all?
They chopped it off. You can pirate it, but it's the intended viewing version. Like that's the way Mitchell Hurwitz wrote the season.
Yeah.
Season 5 sucked. Don't watch season 5.
Oh, so there is
but
that was the last
there's
one.
a season 5. That's the last one. It kind of lost steam.
Yeah.
But season 4, I think, is one of the funniest bits of television, and Ron Howard is actually present in the show, like as an actor, playing himself.
Really?
Yeah. Huh. So in the show, he exists as Ron Howard heading Imagine Entertainment, because Michael Bluth, played by Jason Bateman, is pitching his family's story, which is seen in seasons 1 through 3, to Imagine Entertainment to be produced by
Netflix or something.
By Ron Howard himself.
Yeah.
And Ron Howard is like, well, we can't produce the show unless you get everybody's rights. So he has the season is about him going to all his family members and trying to get them to sign off their rights to this TV show. Seriously, you have to watch that show. There's some fucking amazing jokes in there.
Yeah. I'll give it a watch.
Again, stuff that I quote like weekly, daily, monthly.
Yeah.
You're a crook, Captain Hook. I mean, it's just such a fucking great show.
University, I watched I want to say maybe at least the first season, maybe the second, I think. You
got to watch it all the way through. It's really hard not to love once you get it. But yeah. it does have like a certain flow that you have to get into. One of the hardest things for me to understand on the first watch was that every time they say next time on Arrested Development, whatever they say after that never actually happens in the next episode. It's just stuff that it's just for that bit.
I barely remember anything, but I remember feel like one of the last episodes I remember is the old guy goes to prison, and there's something to do with the wife getting what is it? What are they called?
Conjugal visits.
Conjugal.
That's the second season.
I think I watched up until that point, but so long ago that
rewatch it and seriously watch the first season and then rewatch the first season.
All right.
That's my way of watching it. All right. The only other series I would say that matches even closely to that like tight
humor style.
They spent so much time writing this and getting it ready and making sure that everything was so tight that like it
the fourth season off. You're talking about?
No, the entire show.
Right.
That it pays off properly is Venture Bros over here.
Still got to finish that.
Dude, how far did you get to the second season?
I don't know.
He didn't. Do yourself a favor. Watch, if you don't want to restart the whole thing.
Yeah.
Watch the last 3 episodes of the first season.
I can actually tell you exactly how far I got.
If you got past the first episode of the second season and were not like, whoa, what the fuck? Then I'm surprised. Because that's where I was. For the longest time, I was like, Venture Bros fucking sucks. And then I played in the background. I paid attention to the season finale of the first season. And then the second season, first episode came up. And it was fucking like, it wasn't mind-blowing. But it was like, oh shit, there's probably more going on here than I...
So I'm almost done with the last episode of the first season.
That's not the... wait.
Yeah, it is. Episode 15. No?
Of the first season? That's not the first season.
Says it is.
No, that's not... That's not right.
Wrong order on HBO?
It's not a very Venture Christmas. Oh, it's Return to Spider Skull Island, I think, is the last episode of the first season. The thing that the Very Venture Christmas is a special.
Oh, well, it's lumped in on HBO as the first.
Yeah, so HBO does a good. Yeah, no, it's Return to Spider Skull Island. That still is exactly the thing you should be watching. Watch that Return to Spider Skull Island and then the first episode of season 2.
Okay.
As a double feature. That should kind of get you into the show.
Is Return to Spider Skull Island the one where it goes back to his childhood?
He has a twin brother.
I vaguely remember that. Yeah.
He gives birth to his own brother.
Yeah. Okay. So I haven't watched any of season 2. So yeah, that's
yeah. You need to power through that show. Seriously, everything Rick and Morty felt like it was trying to do is an inferior version of Venture Bros.
Huh. All right. And no one's ever fucking heard of it.
Oh my god, it's so. The reason nobody heard of it is because
is that an Adult Swim thing?
It was an Adult Swim thing, and back then nerd shit wasn't so common.
Yeah.
Venture Bro, so like the new Harley Quinn show on HBO Max, people love it, and it's references for people who aren't savvy enough to understand references. So instead of like Venture Bros, where they make fun of a product that you know and then subvert it and make it something interesting, it's like, hey, remember Clayface as Clayface from that Batman comic that featured Clayface? Well, Clayface is in this, and he's Clayface, and he's doing Clayface things, and that's funny because you know Clayface, and this isn't what you expect Clayface to be. Venture Bros is a much more sophisticated version of that. Where it plays off of expectations, and it's just so cleverly written. The problem was that they had about 2 or 3 years between each season, because it was basically written, directed, produced, and voiced by the same 2 people.
The whole thing?
For the first, 4 seasons.
Jesus.
It was basically 2 people doing the brunt of the production, and then a lot of voice work.
How?
From other
did that
people.
Get made doing it that way?
So Venture Bros got green.
I mean, Adult Swim was kind of a fairly avant-garde, we'll fucking try anything.
So Venture Bros got produced by Adult Swim in the era when they were doing stuff like Space Ghost Coast to Coast.
Yeah. They've done some weird...
And Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law.
They still do some really odd, pretty bad.
So, but back then what they were doing is they were taking old, Hanna-Barbera cartoons.
Yeah.
And using footage from them and dubbing over them like Kung Pao Enter the Fist style to make new shows.
Yeah.
So like The Brack Show or, again, Space Ghost to Coast to Coast. It was
Which one was that?
Just look up Space Ghost. You'd know a picture of him yourself.
Space Ghost Coast to Coast.
It was a radio show type thing.
Okay.
Kind of like news radio, but with superheroes. But they would take old Hanna-Barbera cartoons and make them into new things that were more adult oriented.
Oh.
You've seen them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with Venture Bros, the original pitch was what if the Hardy Brothers and what's it? Johnny Test.
Yeah.
Or Johnny Quest. Johnny Quest and the Hardy Brothers. What if you mashed them up and made a new show about that?
Yeah.
And aped on all of those old pulp serials and superhero comics and shit like that. And they greenlit the show based on that. And the writers, Doc Hammer and Jackson Public, they basically they ran with the idea, and over the course of 7 seasons, made the most lore-dense adult animated cartoon that I've seen from any Western studio.
So I was just looking up Robot Chicken. Is that still going?
Probably. I'd assume they make 1 season every 3 years now.
Following the 2020 cancellation of the Venture Bros, it was Adult Swim's longest-running series, both in terms of years and episodes, until it was surpassed by Aqua Teen Hunger Force revival in 2023.
Venture Brothers they went gold on their movie. They were supposed to have a finale season. When David Zaslav took over Warner Brothers, he canceled that season and greenlit a movie instead.
Huh.
Which sucks because they were so close to having that 8th season would have been fucking phenomenal. Wrapping it up in 2 hours is going to be difficult.
I do like what's coming back with good shows is the showrunners being like, all right, this is it. We're not just going to burn this out. Maisel ending in this 5th season, I believe. God, what did I just watch as well? It's got 1 season to go. There's a bunch of shows now that are just...
And Ted Lasso's ending early.
Ted Lasso, that was what it was. Yeah. So you're not just going to...
They're not running it out.
Yeah,
they're getting it at the end.
The English version of The Office did this the best. I think it was 2 seasons. It was like
so
done.
With Venture Brothers, it's
all of his shows. All of his shows are, I believe, within 3 seasons. That's it, or whatever.
With Venture Brothers, part of the reason I love it is because it's kind of the opposite paradigm there, where instead of saying like, we're done on season 3 or we're done on season 5, they would say we're done producing this season when it's good enough. So season 4 took an infamously long time to release for Venture Bros because halfway through they realized they were burnt out and they couldn't meet the episode order.
How did they? I mean, how was that made though? Because studios and production companies,
Swim, dude. Adult Swim was heavily based on syndicated programming.
They must have. Essentially, they must have just loved them so much that they allowed them to do that. Because
I mean, their product speaks for itself. Like it's such a good product.
Yeah.
The thing.
I mean, normally a TV show, like you take the best TV show you can think of, episode of Friends.
They're meant to be pumped out as fast as possible.
You have anywhere between a week and 2 weeks to shoot an episode.
Yeah.
And you're basically fucked
you're editing as you're shooting the next episode, basically.
Yeah.
It's a pipeline. With Venture Bros, they said like we're not doing this until we have it ready.
Thank God,
Adult
by the
Swim
way,
allowed them to do that, which was great until recently.
Thank God, TV shows aren't 20 plus episodes a season anymore.
Let me take a piss, but I have a huge opinion on this.
Yeah, go for it. I'm trying to think of something I'll talk about while I'm.
Riff.
Find something that isn't fucking grain alcohol.
No, I mean we can't drink. I can't drink grain alcohol.
Yeah, so find something that isn't that. Oh, in the fridge, there's more of these like soda water things. Just don't bring that horrible Malibu bullshit in here. Oh God, how terrifying it would be just to be not terrifying, but being a single radio show host that just has to talk for a living. I mean, you're looking at the monitor. I'm looking at, if you're watching, I'm looking at a monitor, but I'm not looking at the camera because it's off to the side. Man, you could just talk about rubbish. Well, yeah, I guess I am fascinated with who's actually listening to this. It's a weird phenomenon that I guess we talk about every episode, because every episode we're kind of shocked that we have any listeners at all. We don't do any promotion for this. The only people that know about this is either the people that already listen to it, or someone was saying, "What are you doing?" And we're like, "Oh, we're shooting a podcast tomorrow." Like, "Oh, really? That's kind of cool." And then they go, "Oh, we listened to it." Yeah, man. I mean, appreciate the listeners. It's cool. Really enjoying doing this. There's something that happens. I think we must have talked about this in another episode, where Adrian and I could have been hanging out, not on a podcast tonight, but there's something that you sit down, you put the headphones on, you're now locked into a conversation, which means you're more present. You can't just half listen and scroll on your phone. You have to there's more of a conscious effort in conversation, I guess, which is really very rewarding. And then it's also, I don't know, fun to create. This scratches a little film business itch if you like making content or whatever. This does, we're not making any money off of this or anything. This is just scratches this nice little urge to make things. If you're not making short movies or whatever, TikToks, this is really creatively fulfilling in a very strange, unexpected way. Yeah. Anyway, God damn, what else do I talk about without my partner in crime here? Trying to think of other movies that I've watched recently. I went back and rewatched Master and Commander. It's a great movie. I watched The Witness. The Witness was cool. The Witness is a movie from like the 1980s. Harrison Ford. He plays a detective that is I think it's a detective in God, where is that? He plays a detective that basically at the start of the movie you see an Amish mother and little boy coming through a train station, and the little boy goes to the toilet, and the little boy sees a murder happen, and he's in a toilet stall, and he sees through the cracks that the murder is perpetrated by this two guys basically, and as he so the murder happens, the little kid basically it's found out it's in a public train station. Detectives come and they question the little boy. One of the detectives is Harrison Ford, and the kid is wife. Yeah, the kid is taken back to the police station. Harrison Ford's trying to, and it's this Amish boy and his Amish mother that don't want to talk to him, and Harrison Ford is trying to figure out like who is this guy? Who is this guy? They do a lineup, not any of those people, and then the boy is walking around the police detective's office, and on the wall he freezes, and he's looking at like the police detective of the year or something like that, played by who's the black guy in Lethal Weapon?
Michael Bain. No, that's Danny Glover.
So he's played by Danny Glover, and Danny Glover is like one of the head detectives of their division.
It's not Michael Bain.
He's the guy that committed the murder. So Harrison Ford realizes this, and he's like, "Oh fuck, I'm in serious danger." So he has to basically get the fuck, like disappear. So he disappears by taking the boy and the mother back to their Amish society that is totally disconnected from the world, and then it moves on to an interesting love story that comes full circle.
Is this a real movie or
The Witness? The Witness.
I haven't seen it.
1980 something is fucking amazing Harrison Ford movie. I believe it's by Peter Weir.
Oh,
yeah. It's really good.
Yeah.
If you want to like name like top Harrison Ford movies, it's in the top 5. You know, in terms of like you clump
better than Star Wars.
If you clump, shut up. If you fucking clump Star Wars as one movie,
Indy
as one movie, then you have Blade Runner.
You
have
Blade Runner 2049.
Give him this fucking franchise. Clump his franchises together.
Blade Runner.
Otherwise,
okay.
You have The Witness
Air Force One.
Air Force One, fantastic. Was that? Do top 10. Do top 10 if you can remember them.
Top 10 is a lot.
Now, come on, you can do it.
Top 10. Okay. Air Force One, Star Wars, Indy, Blade Runner, Air Force One. Fuck. What is that? The Fugitive. Fugitive. That's my top 5.
Okay. Then the Witness is after that.
The Fugitive is so good.
Fugitive is amazing.
Yeah.
Similar-ish movies, and the reason I started watching.
Isn't it amazing how he can just fucking talk about nothing by himself for hours?
It was hard. It's very difficult.
It's really terrible to riff.
I was. No. So.
Oh, by the way, if you hear like some errant snorting, I'm really congested. The last couple of weeks.
Errant snorting.
The last couple of weeks, LA has had a terrible storm system come in. And what that's meant is that
atmospheric river is the word you're looking for.
I'm gonna punch you in the dick as fast and as hard as I can. We've had an atmospheric river that's come in, and what that means is basically we've had a lot of rain. All the dead plants have bloomed back to life, and that means right now there's an insane amount of pollen circulating through the air.
So.
And I have
he's got
seasonal allergies.
You have seasonal allergies every season. No, so
yeah.
So if you want to, so
can't breathe through my nose.
So I was going back and I got back into watching movies from the 80s, and there's something about I love those movies from that era because you have the synth sound.
They also have
it's all the Blade Runner. Like,
they weren't a good movie from the 80s. Was not afraid to have unnatural lighting.
Yes,
that still worked diegetically.
Well, and it had that. There's that film quality from that era that is so.
Yeah.
Oh man, it works so well.
What's your favorite era in terms of film look?
It might be the 80s.
I'm gonna go with the 50s.
Technicolor?
Technicolor and like
It's hard. There's different things.
There's a way that they processed films in certain areas where it had that like light pastel color.
That's Technicolor. No.
It's not
Technicolor
was really
like
saturated.
Deep colors. The pastel colors.
The pastel was Kodak. It was
that was afterwards, right?
Yeah, and it was so beautiful.
What was
give me an example. Gorgeous film. Floating Weeds. Floating Weeds is like my favorite color palette in any film.
Ozu had just a different. That would have been a weird Japanese one. So it might have been like Ilford or
maybe
I gotta get back into the film stuff.
I have loved that color palette.
Yeah.
Ever since the first time I saw any of Ozu's films, it's just such a beautiful.
Floating Weeds is the one that starts off with those freeze frames of the docks, right?
Yeah, not freeze frames, pillow shots. There's a difference.
Pillow shots, yeah. It has like some of the most
because they're live frames,
beautifully composed frames of a lighthouse and a dock and a lamppost, and then it moves the way it moves back. And then those are in the background now.
Yeah, it's informing the environment of this set. You know, you do 5 pillow shots before sequence.
We should go and do
fantastic.
Once we have this ability in Butler, which will be a while, I guess, or maybe we should just do it like
manually.
Whatever. Yeah, we should do it manually. At least, also if we get like a certain like following, we should start doing like. Yeah, it would be great to do like a. I would absolutely love to go through Ozu's catalog, Kurosawa's catalog.
There's just something about. Have you seen Kiki's Delivery Service?
No, I haven't. I know what it is.
Watch it. I know you're not like a huge anime nerd, but like in terms of
saying that though, I do love
certain
lot of mainstream anime and weird anime that no one else has watched.
It's a medium. Yeah. It's a medium. It's just some of the stuff is going to be good, some of the stuff is going to be ass. But Kiki's
anime, I definitely like the 90s, 80s and 90s.
80s and 90s had a very good look all around. But if you like Miyazaki has his own very very distinct style.
Yeah.
Kiki's Delivery Service kind of hits on that like beach town nautical look.
I'm still thinking about your film grain color, film stock thing, because I mean, you go from
the reason I bring up Kiki's is because it has, as an animation, it has across the board the same type of palette.
Because I'd say
Steve Zissou also has a similar palette.
Yeah, I'd say
it's a lot of like baby blue and deep red.
I would say that like Orson Welles films. I'm not a huge fan of the film grain, but the lighting in
I mean
is spectacular in those movies.
You know, that was the first movie to have ceilings, bro.
Yeah. God, I mean
Orson Welles, what a talent.
I mean, you have Lawrence of Arabia, which is 50
the film.
Still, I think it's in my top 5 perpetually, I think.
Yeah.
Stanley Kubrick. Although, again, I don't think
have you not seen John... I can't believe you haven't seen John Wick yet.
Yeah, I know. Is there a Kubrick thing in it?
No, there's a fucking David Lean thing.
I can't believe you haven't seen the fucking...
Fablemans?
Can I just spoil the end for you?
I know I've had it spoiled for me. It's what's his name? It's David Lynch plays John Ford.
Can I talk about it?
No, don't talk about it, because all I know is David Lynch plays John Ford, and I shut my brain off the second I heard that.
I want to spoil it so bad.
Don't spoil it. But John Wick.
Can you hurry up and bloody watch it?
I will.
Can I show you the end right now?
No, I'll watch it this week. Okay, I don't want to see the end before I see the rest of the movie.
Yeah. It's not necessarily related. It is, but it's not.
But it is.
But there's just a great...
You're telling me Spielberg added a scene by accident? Fuck off. God, that guy knows what he's doing.
As soon as you watch that...
I'll call you the second it's over.
Watch it. I want to watch it at the same time again.
Yeah.
Because I love that movie. And I had a great belly laugh at the end. There's 2 bits that are great.
But John Wick 4 has some of... Tom actually wants to come back on and do a talk about it.
All right.
I don't think he liked the movie a lot.
Really?
Yeah. He and I came out with very different opinions about it.
I would also... It's interesting because Tom is from a martial arts background.
Donnie Yen is fucking fantastic in it, man.
He's Donnie Yen, dude. Donnie Yen's the man.
No. This is way better than Ip Man 3 or 4.
Oh, if really him in this
is better than him in Ip Man 3 or 4.
Don't believe it.
Yeah, he has way more interesting stuff to do in this.
Well, not in Ip Man, but in any of his movies. Like Ip Man was the most popular Western movie that he was in, right? Or franchise. Yeah. But he's been in so many fantastic, what is it? Hong Kong movies?
No, he's not Hong Kong. He's China.
So yeah, he's been in so many fantastic. God, what the fuck is that cinematic? There's a word for it.
You know what I've never watched? I've never watched Infernal Affairs.
Which one's Infernal Affairs?
That's what The Departed was based on.
I haven't either.
I haven't watched that. I should.
Have you? How much of Jackie Chan's back catalog have you gone through?
Oh my god.
Those movies are fantastic.
Police Stories, right?
Police Story 1, 2, 3, and 4.
I only watched one.
Police Story 1 is when he slides down the pole and breaks his pelvis, burns off all the skin off his hands. You got to watch all. The start is when he's hanging off the back of the bus.
Yeah, I watched that one.
Have you watched the one when he runs down? Oh, sorry, I spat on you. Have you watched the one where he runs down the slanted building?
I've been meaning to watch.
Drunken Master's my least favorite.
Drunken Master is good.
That was my least favorite. My least liked.
I've been meaning to watch, what is it, 1A or something like that?
They all have, there's a lot of them have strange names to remember because they're like they're like the Chinese names that are now westernized.
Yeah.
So you want to watch the good ones are the ones where it's him and the chubby guy that is now is a huge action director.
Yeah, he's huge.
God, what the fuck is his name? God, I can't remember his name.
Jimmy Olsen.
He was in. He was in. There was one movie when it's him and Jackie Chan, and they're playing. I think they're brothers for like some kind of delivery service.
Chris Tucker.
He's so good. They might be doing
Rush Hour 4.
That I think Rush Hour is probably the. I mean, it's not probably. It is the best Western Chinese style martial arts.
It's definitely the best Brett Ratner movie there is.
I can regularly. There's a couple of movie franchises that I can go back and kind of rewatch. That don't like. I can't keep going back and rewatching Star Wars.
Ooh, I watch Star Wars like the entire saga about once a year.
I can't. Same with
But it's got to be in a mood. It's not like a scheduled time.
Same with Raiders of the Lost Ark. But what I can go back and just rewatch because it's just so much fun is Lethal Weapon.
Yeah.
I can go and watch the Rush Hour.
I need to do
series.
Lethal Weapon again. I've done Rush Hour recently.
Because those ones are. It's almost that if I go back and watch Raiders or that kind of thing, I can't do anything else.
Yeah, you have to focus it. Yeah.
Whereas Lethal Weapon is so... I can put it on in the corner of my screen and write bullshit code for a while, you know.
Riggs.
Yeah, and it's so much fun. And you look over, you know, with a scene where Riggs is sitting on his fucking toilet, there's a bomb underneath it, and they have to figure out that you have to jump into the bathtub with a... It's so stupid. It's great.
Yeah.
There are a few franchises like that you can just blitz through a couple of times.
What are your once a year films?
Well, Christmas time always brings out, you know, normally I'll probably watch Die Hard.
Okay, so
I fairly regularly watch Bottle Shock, like at least maybe once a year, once every 2 years.
Wait. So you started with Christmas. Let's talk about December movies. November, movies. December. So holiday era. For me, it's Die Hard, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Home Alone, and...
you know the story about what happened when I was watching Plane, Trains, and Automobiles with my girlfriend this year, right?
No.
Yes, you do.
Do I?
Yeah, I'm not going to mention it.
All right.
You know, when I called you up at like...
Oh, yeah. That's a fun story. How about we tell it?
We'll never be heard on this. But yeah.
Yeah, no,
I think we were watching that movie, yeah.
Plane Trains is a fantastic movie.
So good.
It's one of the most humble, I think.
Movies. Another great Trading Places. Trading Places.
Great. I know it's a Christmas movie.
It's in that league, though.
Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. I watch that once a year around Christmas.
I haven't watched it for so long.
Fucking amazing movie. The Nice Guys. Also,
Nice Guys
Shane
is
Black.
a great...
Lethal Weapon 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Oh, I tell you what.
Christmas movies.
I tell you what. I probably watch once a year since it came out. Nice Guys. I mentioned it earlier. The fucking what the fuck is that Guy Ritchie movie called? Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Man from U.N.C.L.E. is so much fun to watch.
I do all the Star Wars movies at least once a year.
All of them?
The
4, 5, and 6?
1,
2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
1, 2, and 3. I kind of just like it. I happen across them, but if like 4, 5, and 6, I watch either in a row or like in a certain amount of time.
I probably do that every I'll probably watch at least one Raiders. Sorry, one indie movie.
I watch
at least one.
I watch at least one a year for indie, and the
Mummy. Maybe I watch a couple of them.
Jurassic Park. I watch at least once a year. Forrest Gump too.
Classic movies. There are some movies that I don't
Inglourious
want to
Bastards
watch.
I watch once a year. I love Inglourious Bastards. Can't get enough of that. Pulp Fiction I watch once a year too.
I'm trying to think of like, in quotes, good movies that I would watch once a year. Like T.S. Lawrence of Arabia. It's not that I watch it once a year because it's so long.
Fucking long.
But
and you have to be in it.
I used to go back to, when I went back to England for Christmas,
yeah,
it would all like either Christmas Day or around that time, I'd turn the TV on at like midnight or 1 a.m, and it's like an hour into Lawrence of Arabia. I'm like, all right, I'm just fucking stuck here now because I'm not turning this off. It's so good. Watching it on a tiny TV in the corner of the room.
Yeah.
What else? Bottle Shock. I love that movie for some reason.
I still haven't watched Bottle Shock.
Have you not?
Yeah, Alan Rickman, right?
Oh god, that movie's so good. The movie's so good. You know I've told you the story, right?
Yeah. A ton of times.
It's so good. It's way better than that other wine movie, Sideways. I think so. Anyway,
Fucking Merlot.
that movie's great, but
Sideways is great, dude.
I prefer Bottle Shock. I think it's a better movie.
Yeah.
And it's a true story. It's kind of like feel good, and Alan Rickman's so bloody good.
Have you seen Best in Show?
Yeah, I've seen it. We watched it together.
Yeah.
We watched it at Mixed Place.
Yeah, that's a great fucking movie.
I'd probably stick on a Austin Powers movie about once a year, just to throw it on.
It's a controversial take, but I think Austin Powers.
I love them. They're so good.
They were fun, but I don't think they're that good.
I do. I think they're really funny.
They're fine.
I tell you what, I should watch, and I haven't. I should watch more of the Life of Brian.
Pythons,
yeah, Python movie.
Faulty Towers.
Love Faulty Towers. I wouldn't watch it. I don't watch it every year, but I've seen it a couple of times through.
So fantastic.
Yeah.
You know what I'm due for a rewatch on?
What?
Fish Called Wanda.
Yeah, me too.
I need to rewatch Fish Called Wanda. I think the last time I watched it was like 3 or 4 years ago.
I think. So what about going back? Give me a classic. Like give me like a Fellini. Give me like a.
Before I get to that, I did just recently rewatch 4 Weddings and a Funeral.
So good.
And I was
American version or
no, not the not Death at Funeral.
Oh, don't know.
4 Weddings is Hugh Grant.
Yep.
And Andy McDowell.
Yep.
And I was kind of blown away by how inclusive the film was, without drawing too much attention to it. There's a gay couple in it. There's a deaf person in it, and they feature in the story in very sensitive ways, without being the center of the movie or like a point to sell the movie on. Which I think it's done in a very, very sophisticated way, where where they just exist in the world of the film and it's not intrusive.
No, fuck it.
It's great movie. Hugh Grant is just insanely charming.
Yeah.
I think I have a suspicion that they actually ADR'd all of Andy McDowell's lines.
Why?
I think that it seems ADR'd when you watch it. Her lip flap, just something doesn't match up. And I think that some of it is that she was she may have been told to do a British accent.
Huh. And didn't do it very well.
And then didn't do it very well, so they redubbed her with an American accent.
Huh.
I need to check it out, though, because there's lines about her being from America.
Which one is she?
She's Groundhog Day. You know the hippie girl in Once Upon a Time in America, or Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
Yeah, hold on.
That's her mom.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like an all-American girl.
Oh, so going back to Harrison Ford movies. So obviously you got Raiders, you got The Fugitive, you got Star Wars, right? You got The Witness.
Yep.
What other ones can you? You got Blade Runner.
Yeah.
What else can you name?
Temple of Doom.
Presumed Innocent. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, I have.
His movie Air Force One.
Yeah.
Working Girl.
Working Girl.
Really
classic.
good.
Classic.
Was he in 42? I don't remember being in 42. Clear and Present Danger.
Clear and Present Danger is
bloody
fantastic.
good movie.
Yeah.
Frantic. I've never heard of Frantic. Polanski.
The only reason I know Frantic is from the Bare
Naked.
Naked.
It is Polanski.
The Bare Naked Ladies song. 1 week, like Harrison Ford, I'm getting frantic. Like Sting, I'm tantric. Like Snickers, guaranteed to satisfy. Like Kurosawa, make mad films. K, I don't make films, but if I did, they'd have a samurai.
There's The Mosquito Coast. Have you ever heard of that?
Never heard that one.
That's by Peter Weir again. It's supposed to be really good. It's
Have
about,
you seen fucking Buckaroo Banzai?
I don't think I have, no.
Oh my god.
Patriot Games?
Patriot Games is good. You need to watch Buckaroo Banzai as soon as possible. It stars... It doesn't star, but it stars Peter Weller and Ellen Barkin.
Okay, but what about The Call of the Wild?
It's got Jeff Goldblum in one of his first roles in film.
Really?
Yeah, and it is one of Wes Anderson's biggest inspirations for Steve Zissou.
Really?
Yeah. Down to the ending credits of. I've always wanted to shoot the ending credits of. It's Mai Tai. Nope. I've always wanted to shoot the ending credits of what's it called, Buckaroo Banzai, in the LA River. The way that they shot it.
I know a little bit about it, but
it's
really wild. Actually,
with other characters.
Just try that.
I don't want to.
Sabrina, by the way.
Sabrina's good, but that's a remake.
Yeah.
Yeah. Steve Zissou. The ending credits are a total ripoff or an homage to Buckaroo Banzai.
Really?
Yeah. Except they replaced the music with Queen Bitch by David Bowie. Yeah. What the fuck are you doing?
Getting the taste of that shit out of this cup.
My God. Yeah. I quite like Buckaroo Banzai.
Yeah, I gotta watch it.
Watch it. Buckaroo Banzai is like if you didn't know that Iron Man existed. Period. You didn't know anything about Marvel. Period. Like there was no social understanding of that, and then Age of Ultron came out in theaters, and you watched that, and you just had to understand that all these guys existed.
Another one that I watch every year, probably at least one movie, is Lord of the Rings.
It's hard. Lord of the Rings is hard for me.
Nah, I love Lord of the Rings.
Here's a question. Speaking of big mega fantasy franchises, are you prepared for the thing that we talked about several podcasts ago?
I don't know what you're getting at here.
The Harry Potter HBO series.
All right, what are they going to do with it, dude? What are they going to... First of all...
Who?
And
why?
Is Rowling going to be attached?
Yeah, she is.
So, what does that mean exactly? You know, I mean, there's just been the huge controversy with the game.
I don't think that it means anything. The game just
was a smash hit.
Objectively, the game sold very well and had very good retention.
Yeah.
I think that.
Do we want to talk about?
No, whatever the case is. It seems like it's not impacting the general public perception very much. So if I were a studio, I don't think that I would have such an apprehension after that game came out to greenlighting product, especially if I was Warner Brothers, who held the rights and is very, very starved for good content. So hot off the heels of something like a Series of Unfortunate Events, which presented each book as 2 episodes.
Isn't it interesting that I love Star Wars and Harry Potter in equal amounts.
Yeah.
But I'm far less mad that they fucked up every Harry Potter spin-off movie than they fucked up every Star Wars movie.
Because the alteration...
Because they nailed every actual one.
No, it has not... I don't think they nailed every actual one for Harry Potter.
In terms of just good movies, they did.
I think that
2 is the most boring one.
Even if they fucked up every movie for Harry Potter,
Yeah.
the books still stand alone as excellent books.
I mean, which movie do you think they screwed up? I think they got them...
I think the Half-Blood Prince did not nearly... It didn't sell the story and the emotional beats of the novel nearly enough to justify how boring the plot is. Because the novel itself for Half-Blood Prince is very, very... It's down, it's close to home, it's somber. There's not a lot that goes on, but it's a lot of Harry's emotional journey. Yeah. And the movie didn't sell that at all. It just had Harry do stuff and then the movie ends.
See, I would say probably like my least favorite movie and book is Chamber of Secrets.
Oh, I like Chamber of Secrets.
That's my least favorite one.
For book, yes. For movie, no. I really like
movie as well.
I like the way Chris Columbus directed his episodes for 1 and 2. I mean, he got Chris the whimsy and the beauty of it.
Award for creating that world in the first place. I mean, goddamn, he nailed it.
Fucking fantastic.
Nailed it. And in terms of like the music, the visuals, the characters,
I don't think that
the whimsy of you when you first. I mean, just filming. How the fuck do you film that?
I don't think that Michael Gambon was a bad Dumbledore. I just don't think that the direction on he's a fantastic actor.
You're talking about the new Dumbledore.
Yeah,
I really enjoy his Dumbledore. But
I think Richard Harris's Dumbledore is such a softer, more nuanced performance that Michael Gambon just seems too strict for. And I don't...
I know a lot of hardcore I think Harry Potter fans that really don't like the Richard Harris.
Richard Harris?
Sorry,
like the Michael Gambon.
Michael Gambit Dumbledores.
I don't hate him, but I think that if the end of the series is supposed to portray Dumbledore as like this morally gray character that you didn't see coming.
I mean, it's not really.
No, by book 7,
he's not morally gray, but it's complex.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. If like you're supposed to be taken by surprise by the end of book 7, where you find out that Dumbledore was totally willing to sacrifice Harry the entire time. That's supposed to be a surprise.
He's not really,
but Michael Gambon's Dumbledore is so strict and so cold in general that by the time that happens in the films, you kind of like, oh yeah, no, that guy definitely like was Machiavellian in some way.
But Dumbledore's always been but in the books, I think that's fine because what is it? Is it Order of the Phoenix, book 5, where Dumbledore won't look Harry in the eyes for all these reasons, and it's not because he's basically scared to look Harry in the eyes and communicate with Voldemort or whatever bullshit. But I don't know. Anyway, getting back to like whatever this new series could possibly be.
Who do you think?
I mean,
Dreamcast.
Those 7-8 movies, I think, are great. I love those movies. Every other Harry Potter movie, I could live without. Don't really care. They're
difficult.
Pretty bad, to be honest.
It's difficult for me to...
There's no magic to them.
Yeah, it's difficult for me to imagine a version of Harry Potter. Like, there's
I don't care about any of the Newt Scamander bullshit.
But there's things I would wish were done differently in the films, right? I wish they gave... I wish they gave Sirius more room to breathe. I wish they gave him more development.
I think as adaptations go, but Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter, it would be hard pressed for them to... Yes, they could have done things differently, but they did it
What I'm saying is,
well.
if they're going to remake it, it's hard for me to imagine anybody but Gary Oldman as Sirius Black.
Oh, yeah.
And it's hard for me to imagine anybody but what's her name?
Alan Rickman as Snape.
Huh?
Alan Rickman as Snape.
Or Bellatrix.
Oh yeah, Bellatrix
Fucking
Strange.
what's her name?
Actress married to.
She's not married anymore.
Are they divorced?
Yeah, a while ago.
Oh, what is her name?
Shit.
Witchy lady from Fight Club.
Yeah.
God, what's her name?
I can't right now. But it's hard for me to imagine anybody but her.
Helena Bonham Carter.
It's hard for me to imagine anybody but her as Bellatrix. And it's hard for me to imagine.
What about Lucius Malfoy, played by what's his face?
Shithead McGee from The Patriot.
Who?
The guy who plays Lucius. He's the guy from The Patriot.
Is he the Patriot?
The Englishman.
Oh God, I don't remember. It's been so long since I watched The Patriot.
They're all so
God, what's
great.
his bloody name?
The woman, I don't know.
Every casting, Voldemort as
Ray Fiennes.
Ray Fiennes.
I can't imagine anybody.
Even Harry, Ron, and Hermione. Those are the.
But with kids, I can imagine kids differently. Because Harry, Ron, and Hermione, the way the movies portrayed them, especially Ron got the short end of the stick in the films. He was never portrayed as the brave, bold character. He was kind of given a dumbass role the entire time. But
maybe more. I still think they kind of did the character justice, to be honest. There's definitely more of Ron in the books.
Ron is such a strong character in the books, and in the movies, he's just there. But with the kids, it's different. But with the adults, it's hard for me to imagine. I mean, even down to Arthur and Molly. The Weasleys.
Oh my God, the actors for them were so
are
good.
Such
every teacher, McGonagall.
Yeah, but Arthur and Molly are
Flitwick.
They're such quintessentially English people.
Yeah,
they're
English countryside people.
You could see them in just everyday life.
I know people in real life like that.
Pleasant, lovely people who are just normal and like their little cottage and make some fucking great food.
I have friends whose mums are
Molly.
You go over and you like a bacon sandwich?
If anything,
cup of tea. Blah,
the things that I would change the most if I could redo them was the characteristics of certain characters, specifically Ron and Ginny, I think got really, really low portrayals in the movies compared to their book counterparts. Ginny specifically, in the book, she becomes
a tour de force towards the end of the book.
even by book 4, she's kind of tomboyish, very boisterous, energetic. And in the movies, she's tying Harry's shoes and spilling shit and being kind of demure.
I honestly can't remember what enough.
But I guess I don't think that's a performance issue. I think that's a directorial issue. Because Bonnie Wright,
also
when she wanted to, she did a fucking incredible job.
There's a lot in those books.
Yeah,
especially as the books go on, they get thicker and they're more dense. And I think, as far as the movies go, they got the core of those books pretty well.
Yeah.
I don't know how else you do it. What's interesting is, and it's interesting to see, and it's also interesting the fact that I don't mind about it, I think, is, as the progression goes, they change so much in tone.
The style.
1 and 2.
4 is fantastic.
3
I think 3 and 4 are probably my favorites of the
3 is Alfonso Cuarón just fucking coming in and being like, this is the new Harry Potter.
I think actually I
changed the art style totally.
You know what? I credit Alfonso Cuarón and number 3 for developing my interest in film as a medium.
Really?
Yeah, 100%.
Wow.
That was the first film I walked out of in the movie theater and had a strong negative opinion of.
Really?
Yes.
Why?
Because
it's one of the best movies.
Because the entire movie is fantastic.
Yeah.
The entire movie is fantastic.
And the way he films it is
he has such a unique film style, and it's so much darker than the last two.
Yeah.
But the last scene, Harry, it's not even the end of the year. They're going back for Christmas break, right? Harry gets a Christmas gift, and it's the Nimbus 2000, right? Or no, it's not. It's a new
the next one. Firebolt.
Yeah. He gets that, and he holds it in his hand. He's like, "Whoa, this is amazing!" And Hermione goes, "Give it a spin." And he goes, "Yeah, Hermione," and he mounts it and he shoots up into the sky, and it's fucking fast, and everybody's like, "Whoa, that's fucking sick!" And in the audience, you're like, "Whoa, that's
Is this when he
fucking
shoots
sick."
towards the screen and then it cuts
And
to
he
the credits or
goes
some shit?
and he shoots towards the screen at a 3/4 angle, and not only does it do a freeze frame. Cut to credits.
I do remember this.
It's a freeze frame
of his
with
face.
Motion blur
Of his face.
where his entire face is coming off his body.
I do remember that.
And that's the first moment I've ever walked out of a film
How old were
and
you?
said, fucking like 2000.
Let's see what time
2004.
it must have came out in Harry Potter 3.
It was the Harry Potter Prisoner of Azkaban.
Man.
That's the first time I walked out of a theater and thought to myself, what the fuck was he thinking? There was such a good movie there. Why would they end it with that shot?
2004, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Good job.
Because it didn't just like end and then cut. It ended and then stayed there on the screen for like 4 seconds and faded out. It didn't even cut out to black. It faded out slowly. And if you just cut to black, nobody would have noticed the fucking motion blur.
Yeah.
But it's the fucking, his face is coming off of his head. Why would they do that? It's bothered me. It has bothered me for literally 20 years.
It's funny. God, 2004, I would have been 11, and I remember watching that in New York. I remember going to see it in New York on opening day. I was like there for Thanksgiving or something.
Fuck, I saw one of them in London. Which one was it? How old was I? I must have been 11. I was 11 years old, which meant that it was 2000, and it was probably 5. I don't remember. It wasn't the Odeon. It was a theater.
No, it would have been 6.
Maybe.
Oh, 2005 would have been
No,
4.
it wasn't 2005. It was 2007.
Yeah.
2007. Whatever
it
movie came out then. I watched it there. It was the first time I ever experienced assigned seating at a film.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have that here.
Yeah.
That was the thing that I first experienced in England.
Yeah.
And I sat in the movie theater and everything was gilded. The walls, I don't remember where it was. It was somewhere like near the West End.
In New York?
London.
Oh, in London.
London,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
So it could have been anywhere.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Everything was gilded, and they had a curtain in front of the screen.
Yeah.
And before the movie, the curtain opened, and it was just
They
the
do
most
that at the DGA
fantastic-
theater. They do. Yeah, it's great.
Oh my God, it was amazing. Over here, like, I like assigned seating, but I think for midnight and opening night things, there should be no assigned seating.
There's something about
First come, first serve. You stand in line, you show up. You are committed to seeing this fucking movie and getting the best seat you can. The best experiences
you pay $4 for a fucking ticket.
Yeah.
You get $10 popcorn.
The best experiences I ever had at a movie theater were watching like Harry Potter, Star Wars, going opening night, fucking, either Thursday night releases or Wednesday when they started doing that stuff. Sitting in line for hours to reserve a seat.
Yeah.
Going in, getting your seats, having
so hyped, so excited.
Giving one person to your party a couple dollars in cash to go and stand in the concession line. You save them a seat.
Yeah.
And the 4 hours you're standing in the line waiting, you're standing with people who are all there to see the same thing as you are.
You're all so
They're
hyped.
all super hyped. People brought their fucking wands, their fucking lightsabers.
Yeah.
They brought their Iron Man helmets, and everybody is there just to do the thing that you want to do.
Did you queue up for the books as well?
Yeah, I queued up for the books.
Yeah,
too.
midnight releases.
Yeah, midnight releases for books were different because because it wasn't an experience. It wasn't an experience that you spent 2 hours after the line ended.
Yeah.
You got your book, you went home, and you read the entire night. But the movie is you go, you stand in line, and then for 2 hours after the line ends, everybody's glued to the one thing.
I mean, Harry Potter. Can you think of another book series that people were yelling out spoilers?
Yeah.
on the opening, people would like buy the books first, scan them.
Jacob's
and then,
still mad at me for telling him that Snape killed Dumbledore 4 years after the book came out.
What?
Because the movie had not yet come out.
Oh, he just didn't read.
He didn't read the book. So the movie was coming out. We were in summer school together.
That's his problem.
I mentioned something about like, oh, dude, it's going to be so cool, that ending scene. He's like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm like, oh, yeah, when Snape kills Dumbledore. And he's like, what the fuck? He's still mad at me for that. So, like, but like,
this is really good.
That stuff's really, really great. Diplomatico?
It's rum?
Yeah.
It doesn't taste like rum.
It's really, really good rum.
It tastes like whiskey.
Yeah.
You don't like rum?
Rum puts me off.
Try a little bit. A little tipple.
Yeah. Now with assigned seating, there's no stakes. You can get there 5 minutes after the movie.
It's sterile.
You can get there.
There's no enthusiasm involved.
No. It's not enthusiasm. You can get there 5 minutes after the movie starts and still have your seat.
Yeah, fuck.
You can have the best seat in the house and get there late.
Okay, have you seen Avatar? Did you see Avatar 2 yet?
No, I haven't. But listen, I screamed at somebody opening night of Star Wars Episode 7.
First movie I went to back from after COVID. We went to see
Shang-Chi.
Was it Shang-Chi?
It was Shang-Chi.
And we had like okay seats, and the first movie would all been back after COVID, and we're sitting in a row, and then like the 2 rows in front of us, someone as the movie starting opened their phone, and you went, "Turn your phone off," or something. No, it was more than that.
It was I think I said, "Put away your fucking phone."
Put your fucking phone away. Something like. Sorry, I spat on you.
No, it's good.
And just to know, Adrian's not a very confrontational person. Adrian and I are not like tall, big dudes. But it was so funny that a packed theatre full of people, and the one thing that Adrian gets mad at is just fucking, quite rightfully so.
I can look, man.
I'm gonna see you climbing over those seats to slap that guy's phone out of his hand.
I'm paying $20 to look at a screen. I'm not paying $20 to look at you looking at your screen. You are competing light.
Yeah.
That is what it comes down to. At a very base level, you are light competing with with the main screen against my eye.
Yeah.
There's no reason for you to be looking at that ever. Even on the lowest setting, you are infiltrating my eyes with your light that is competing against the screen that is reflecting better light that is more interesting than me.
I got a question for you. Okay.
But with Episode 7, the entire theater screamed at a person because they took a picture with their flash on
during the movie
of the opening crawl.
I tell you what, though,
I remember
sitting.
Here's the thing that fucking kills me is if you're in a movie theater, you need to understand how movie theaters work.
Yeah.
When a movie, it's not a screen like a TV.
Yeah.
Right?
You're competing for light.
Where light is projecting out towards you. A light is shining on the screen and showing something on that screen. If you put your flash on there, the photo that you are getting on your camera is worse than if you had no flash because you are shining extra saturating light that is killing all of the color on the screen. You fucking moron. So that's what I mean. When you add assigned seating for night of, you add those people who do not give a shit about the movie and are just there to tell other people. Do you remember
as much as we spoke about this last podcast, I can't stand episode. I really don't like episode 7, but the atmosphere going in and sitting down. I remember we didn't have good seats. It was me and like 2 friends.
We were in the front row.
We were sitting all the way at the back. All the way at the back, literally in the last row up top. And I'm pretty sure I was sitting smack bang in the middle, which was good, but like right on the aisle, the steps, which was just kind of odd, kind of weird to sit in that seat.
Yeah.
And then, you're hyped. And then you go through the opening adverts, which are always so good in movies. That's such a good, the trailers are so good. But then, it goes quiet, and then it blares.
Such a fucking experience.
And the scroll, and you're sitting there like, yes,
dude,
yes,
dude. That movie theater was electric.
Yes,
and the worst feeling. So when I went to go watch episode 8, I was in college, and we got tickets for a double feature of 7 and 8. So I had a final the morning of. So I finished my final and drove 6 hours down.
Oh, that's so bad though,
From
because the
school.
entire final, you're not concentrating on the final at all.
No, I'm concentrating on getting the fuck out of the final. So I want to get this done as properly as possible. I
bad.
drive 6 hours down.
You drive down from LA?
Yeah, from Santa Cruz to LA.
Oh, I see. So you
All
do the
way
final,
down. I
get
do the
out of the final, drive back
6 hours down,
Jesus Christ.
all the way down the highway as fast as I can. I barely make it. Literally, I don't even go home. I end up at the
cinema.
theater.
Yeah.
And I meet Mick there. I'm in sweatpants. Like, I've been driving for 6 hours. I smell like shit. I get into the movie. We watch episode 7. It's so fucking, like, hype. Let's fucking go. The next Star Wars is coming out. Like, I saw the trailers. I'm stoked for it. And,
You're like
going episode 7, like, that's the most hype I've ever been. And episode 8 starts, and it's a fucking prank phone call
I
from
don't even remember that.
Poe Dameron to Admiral Hux, and nobody's taking it seriously. And I look at Mick, and I go, like, did we get the wrong movie?
It's
And-
such a fuck that I think one of the biggest problems with that movie
like
was
such-
it was such a huge fuck you to every Star Wars.
None of us talked out of the theater. Like, leaving the theater,
Really?
none of us spoke to each other. And we got here, and Brian came back with us.
Yeah.
And we sat, we had some tea, and we just talked about nothing for a little bit. And then I forgot who broached it.
Yeah. That was fucking terrible.
Whoever broached it, it was done. It was done. It was just us bitching for the next 4 hours about it.
Days, dude. That movie was so
I mean,
bad.
it's been, what, 6 years since, and it's
We're
still
we're
hurt.
talking. Yeah. It still hurts. It does hurt.
It's just insulting a little bit. But yeah, no, but the sound and the
yeah.
if you need somebody to, if anybody needs to know why theaters are an essential experience versus home cinemas and like TVs,
Is that the same opening note as the Lawrence Arabia theme?
No, it's not. You can transpose anything if you really want to.
Yeah, of course. But
the
are you sure it's not the same one?
Huh?
Are you sure it's not the same one?
It might be. I can't be sure either way.
No, I don't think it is. I think it's
But
higher.
they're both composed by John Williams.
He did Lawrence Arabia?
He did Lawrence Arabia.
didn't
Or
know
he
that.
was like an understudy on Lawrence Arabia. Yeah. He was part of the team for that. But with you know why they actually
Morris Jar.
Yeah, but John Williams was on it still.
Sonnet?
Was on it.
Oh, was on it.
Yeah. With Star Wars, you know why they chose that note?
No.
They wanted it to match the 20th Century Fox fanfare.
Ha.
It's in the same key as 20th Century Fox's fanfare.
What was the reason?
Because the movie was produced by 20th Century Fox and they wanted it to be a continuous experience.
What?
So
Yeah.
you do and then you fade into the Lucasfilm, which is like
How?
and you go as loud as
fucking
possible from that
good.
very tranquil Lucasfilm thing.
Can you imagine? I mean, that's a movie experience that I would love to have.
In
It was being
77.
77. You've never watched a proper sci-fi movie.
You've watched 2001, which is sci-fi, and
You've never
you've
seen
watched Flash Gordon.
anything. When did Kubrick? When did 2001 come out?
69.
So you've seen that, which is, whatever. It's not bad.
It's like sweet whiskey.
Yeah, it's okay.
Uh,
Yeah, and then you're sitting there and you just blown away.
It that is like
Did you finish the
ILM.
ILM
Yeah.
thing? Oh man, that was so good. That makes me want to go. I mean, that's like the era I
Yeah.
wish I lived through. I think instead of wanting to be like a on set, I would have wanted to do
like
that
bullshit, like props and VFX.
props, VFX. It's the ingenuity, the practical ingenuity.
Well, it's
like
punk rock shit, dude.
yeah,
You're just doing whatever you have to do.
Yeah.
The soundtrack for episode 5 is still I've collected quite a few more vinyls. The soundtrack for episode 5 is still my favorite.
You got
vinyl
that
to
one?
listen to. Yeah.
nice.
All the way through. simply because, first off, it starts with that heavy opening note. Second off, halfway through, you get the asteroid belt theme. Okay, which is my favorite theme. That's my favorite thing John Williams has ever composed, besides the Superman theme.
I got a question for you.
You know the asteroid belt theme one?
Off the top of my head, I can't remember which one it is.
When the Millennium Falcon is getting chased by...
I'm sure if I heard it, I'd know exactly what it was. But
it happens right at the center of the film, and it's like the best climax ever.
I don't remember it off the top of my head, but... Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. And it builds up so perfectly, and then at the end of it, right as it crescendos, it fades directly into Han Solo and the princess.
Yeah.
Where when they finally kiss, it is there, like, you have this build-up of themes and motifs all the way through the movie, kind of hinting that these two, Han Solo... It's motifs from the first movie where you have the heroics of Han and Luke and Princess Leia, right? You have their themes that compete through the first movie, and then when the second movie comes around, you have this one theme that sounds similar to both of them.
Yeah.
That keeps popping up for the first half of the movie, and then when they hit the asteroid belt and they finally kiss, the theme of Han Solo and the princess finally comes into full fruition and just blows the entire soundtrack out. And it's such a fucking great piece of music.
I got a question for you, okay? And I think it might be an interesting thing to ask people that come on every episode. I want to talk about movie paraphernalia, movie props.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me what your favorites, not the right, what would be like, what would you love to own from a movie? And I think it'd be interesting to figure out how to do this for different media types as well, for like books or songs, whatever, games, whatever. But I've got a couple in my mind that I'd love to own, like props, but it can go, you can go past props. I don't want to hint what I'm thinking of, but I'm interested to see what you think. Because there are certain things that I would love to have in terms of...
Ark of the Covenant. Raiders.
Really?
I'd love to just have that in my living room.
That would be sick.
With the two seraphs with their winged arms on the top.
I'd like to have the Blade Runner pistol. That's my number one of all time. I'd like to have the original lightsaber made from...
Like the Graflex hilt?
The Graflex. I'd like to have the original one. Okay, so not a prop... But name something else that you would want from a movie.
The fuck is not a prop that you would want from a movie?
There's tons of stuff. You have to think about it. What goes into making movies?
Oh, like cameras, light systems?
That's interesting, yeah. That wasn't what I had in mind.
Oh, man. That's a big question. What goes into making movies?
I'd love to have a matte painting from Star Wars. I'd love to have the matte painting with the holes poked into it from Blade Runner.
I'd love to have a...
You know what I have? Actually, sorry. You know what I actually do have, which is a genuine prop? What's the boxing movie that... Night Skies guy, Master and Commander, what the fuck is his name?
Russell Crowe?
What was the boxing movie that he was in?
Don't know.
Whatever that movie was, I have...
Cinderella Man.
I have the rope. I have the
jump rope?
I have the jump rope in England in a drawer.
Oh shit!
Yeah, my one of my kickboxing teachers did that movie and was like, "Yeah, you go have this." I was like, "Thank you very much. This is dope." Bro. Yeah, and actually, but when he gave it to me, I hadn't seen the movie.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
It's a great movie. Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I don't know. That's hard. Honestly, I
was thinking matte painting. I would love
an animation cell from End of Evangelion.
That was what I was thinking. Like I'd love a glass. Okay, so from we should probably go through eras.
End of Ava or
were those painted on glass as well, or were they? Were they painted on glass back then, or was it? It changed.
They were glass painted.
Really?
Yeah.
Ooh, that would have been hard. I mean, what about Akira? If you're gonna do that, were they on glass?
I don't know if Akira was on glass.
If they were on glass, I would love the cell of
The slide.
The slide.
Motorcycle slide.
One of the cells of the slide would be.
No, you want the apex where he just stops and his foot goes down on the ground.
There are so many good parts that you could take. I think I would like. God, I'm trying to think of decent props. I would love, literally, like a building from the background pass of Blade Runner. The night scene.
Literally,
just one of
any
the
of those
pyramids.
greebled kit bash
Just a pyramid to sit on the side of the room. Now, you know what that is?
Yeah. Our neighbor used to have a couple of Ali gloves.
Really?
Yeah.
But from the movie or actual Ali?
No, actual
Wow.
Muhammad Ali gloves. We went over there for New Year's one time, and he had a fucking mountain of cocaine next to a pair of Muhammad
This
Ali
is the guy over
gloves.
there, right?
Yeah, John Brown.
I heard these stories.
God bless that
Is he
guy.
still alive?
I miss him so much. I miss him every day. One time, this guy, I'm walking my dog. I'm walking her down. You know where the road kind of forks down and they meet back up? I'm walking her down there, and we're walking. It's the middle of the day. We're just taking a light stroll because that's how she is. And a fucking, like, sports car just 90 miles an hour passes by me.
He would have been so good for Butler.
Oh my God, he would have been great.
Just advice.
He's literally, like, this car passed me, and I'm just walking my dog like, what the fuck was that? If he had hit me, if that car had hit me, I would have been dead before I even registered anything.
Yeah, I mean, just jam.
Yeah. And then the car halts, and then 50 miles an hour backs up. And then the window rolls down, and it's fucking John. And he rolls down the window, and he's like, hey, man, that's a really cute dog. I'm good to see you, bro. I'll see you later, bro. Fucking zooms off. The dude was
What happened to him?
Legend. He moved out. Yeah.
What did he do? What was his job?
Oh my God, dude. Satellites?
Huh.
Like, he was
Engineer or something?
No, he was in satellites.
What does that mean? He was
I don't
in satellites?
fucking know what that means. That's just what he said.
So he could have been a electrical engineer that made a bunch of money, or a fucking product. Who knows? He could have been anything. Physicist.
He had an affair with Fergie, not the musician, but the Duchess of York.
Oh wow! All right.
Yeah.
Damn. Yeah, I remember hearing. I never met him, but I remember you guys. I've heard a lot of stories from you guys about him.
John, if you ever, if this ever makes its way to you, please give me a call.
Try and figure out his last name.
Hit me up on. I know his last name.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
We should try and contact him. It'd be fun.
Hit me up on Twitter. I miss you. You were fucking awesome. You were a legend. One of the best memories, like, me and my brother, we get home and we had just been to a wedding or something, or a bar mitzvah, and we're dressed up in suits, and we park in our lot, and he comes up right behind us, straight into his fucking garage, and we get out of the car, and he gets out of his car, and there's a hedge between us. He just comes over. He would come over to say hi, like, all the time. And
knock on your door, walk in.
No, just like if we were around, like he would, like, if he saw us in the front, he would come and say hi. He comes over and he's like, "Hey guys, what are you doing?" He always talked like that. Hey,
how old was he?
He talked like fucking Bob Einstein.
How old was he?
He was like 50, 60 maybe. Hey guys, what are you doing? How you doing? You guys look good. Where'd you come from? And we go, oh yeah, no, we just came from a wedding or a bar mitzvah or whatever we were at. And it's like, oh, that's sick, bro. I just came from my buddy's funeral, man. It was a bummer, dude.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
He was dressed in a suit too. It was fucking hilarious.
Jesus
I miss
Christ.
that guy. I miss that guy so frequently just because he was such a wild guy.
What a character.
When we threw parties here, he was the best neighbor. He would just show up with booze and like, let's go.
Damn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Damn.
Crazy guy.
That's the pinnacle of the LA dream. Is kind of,
Yeah.
that is what that would be. Like, you know,
you want funny. Now my neighbors are just like, you know, they're old spinsters.
yeah.
Demographic shift, right?
Yeah.
Crazy how that goes.
God damn. Yeah, I'm trying to think still of
Props.
big props. I mean, pretty cool to own. I think Elon Musk owns it, but the submersible car from James Bond.
Stupid. No.
The Dark Knight bomber, whatever the bloody hell it was. The Tumbler.
Yeah, Jay Leno owns that.
Does he own that now?
Yeah, that's his.
In terms of cars, God, what are the cars? I'd love to own the car from Bullet.
OG Aston Martin James Bond.
Oh, yeah.
1964.
Yes.
Yeah.
What about costume pieces?
Costume pieces.
Costume pieces, I think I'm probably weaker on.
I mean,
because I'm not really interested
everybody makes replicas of it, but owning the jacket from Drive, like with a certificate, you don't even wear it, just have it.
That's
such an iconic.
It's
jacket.
iconic, but I wouldn't be excited about it.
Okay, Marlon Brando's white T-shirt from On the Waterfront.
His white beater.
You were talking about his white, tight white T-shirt, sweat soaked.
God damn, yeah, just stinks.
Yeah. I'll imagine the smell though.
What about? I mean, I'm trying to think that there's tons of cool stuff, but stuff that I can just reel off famous props, but not ones that I specifically really like to own.
Yeah.
It would be cool to own the King Kong armatures, but I don't have that attachment to those older movies.
I get that. OG Godzilla costume.
I tell you what, I would actually quite like to. You know what I'd love to have?
Oh, OG Gamera costume. That would be the one.
I'd like to have the. What's the name of that? It's a tram that doesn't go horizontal. It goes diagonally, and I want the model of that tram from
Grand Budapest Hotel.
Yes, I want that little model. What do they got?
I know there's a word for it,
and it's a cool word.
Something car.
Spindler or something like that.
Yeah. The little purple one that goes.
That goes diagonally. Yeah. I'd love to have just that as a diorama of the wall. It'd be so cool. It's still working.
Man, I'm so excited. I don't give a fuck. I'm excited for his new movie.
Oh, dude, his new movie looks so good. He's getting haters because that's the only. It's more sci-fi than usual. That's the
the reason he's getting haters is because he has a very specific visual language and people are tired of seeing it.
Too bad. Don't watch his movies then.
Can you imagine somebody 20 years ago being like,
"Oh, what? You don't like his visual language you're tired of, but you're okay with literally everything else, which is the exact same fucking visual language?"
No, fuck that. Oh yeah, you know what? I get it. Starry Night was good, but do we really need more swirly impressionist shit from Van Gogh? I get Crows in a Wheat Field is coming up, but I'm just not excited for it. Dude, it's his style. That's the type of thing he makes, and that's not the only merit the movie has. He makes good fucking films.
Ooh, I got a couple of props that I've seen.
I would love a Dalmatian mouse. Dalmatian mouse from Royal Tenenbaums.
One thing I never got to do.
I would love a Gwyneth Paltrow from Royal Tenenbaums.
I wish, maybe when Paul is next in town, I need to contact him. But when he next comes into town, I want to take you to his office because
you still have his office.
I don't know. I haven't spoken to him for half a year, maybe. Yeah, I haven't spoken to him for a while. A friend of my dad's. I lived with him for a while, couple of years. Name is Paul Lombardi. He's the really owner of Full Scale Effects. We must have spoken about it at some point. Maybe.
He's the person who's the reason we keep making briskets.
Yes, actually he is. Yeah. He's the one of the OG Hollywood
special effects.
So
Explosives.
his dad was, I can't remember his name. Frank Lombardi, I think, created the company Full Scale Effects, and him and Paul did all of the special effects for some of the biggest movies in Hollywood. They did the napalm run from Apocalypse Now, that kind of thing, and he's just got so many incredible stories.
I swear to God, his grandkids were fucking drinking napalm. Those kids were made out of energy.
Oh, yeah, those two kids were fucking hilarious. It's like, what, it's a
Christ.
6 and a 9-year-old? I don't want to say their names on this.
Every time
yeah.
I ever crashed at your place, I would be woken up at like 7 a.m. by those kids
knocking on the door,
fucking screaming,
knocking on the door,
sprinting up and down.
I love those kids. They're so amazing.
They were fucking.
They would bang on my door.
They were great kids. Great kids.
Yeah. I'd bang on my door. Alex, yeah, come on in. And I get up, I play with. I love those guys.
The best thing for a hangover.
It was so funny.
A couple 7-year-old kids just screaming at you.
Well, there was. I mean, I guess this is a weird story to tell, but there was the older kid by like 3 years was like 8 or 9, and the younger kid was just literally like built like a brick shit house. This kid was just a ball of muscle. And they would have full-on fights.
Yeah, they would beat the shit out of each other.
But no, if you went into Paul's office, he would have. When I say office, it was more like the front room of. It was the like visiting area of their effect shop in LA. They have the full size horse that they built for Last of the Samurais. Was that right? With Tom Cruise.
The Last Samurai.
The Last Samurai. That's the name. They have the. Right next to it, they have the crank Gatling cannon from the same movie. In another corner, they have the one of the 3 surfboards made for that movie. Remember those surfboards?
Yeah.
The 3 made. One was attached to the side of the helicopter. The coolest prop that he had, which isn't really a prop, but these are the kind of things I would love to collect, is in his private office off to the side. It's more like a conference room. You go in, and on the wall, there's this, what looks like just a blank piece of aged paper. And it's probably 2 meters wide by maybe 1 meter high.
Okay.
On the wall. And if you look at it, you kind of see it's got something on there, and you go closer. And what you realize is it's the sketched out aerial view and planning of the entire napalm run from Apocalypse Now. So it has the like topographical features on it, and then marked on it are the places where the charges were put and what they are, and then underneath it has like more data, like the detonation stuff. I would love to have. That's one of my all-time. I would love to have that. That's so fucking cool.
Yeah. Fucking neat.
I'm trying to think of anything else like that. I can't think of anything from any other media off the top of my head.
We've almost been going for 3 hours on this.
On this one?
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
2 hour 49.
Jesus Christ.
3:30?
Almost 5, dude.
Jesus fucking Christ.
I know. I thought it was like 3:30 as well.
You get some sleep, boy.
Yeah, me too. All right, should we wrap it up?
Yeah, probably.
All right. Anything else you want to blow through real quick? Another 5 minutes?
I got to get a haircut.
You do need to get a haircut. I don't need to get a haircut.
I made a commitment that I'm not going to get my haircut until I meet my fitness goal.
What the fuck are you talking? Why not? So it's harder to work out and more irritating when your hair's bobbing in your eyes and sweating?
No, I don't really have a problem with my hair in my eyes. It's more just like a thing. I said it early on, and now I have to stick with it because I told enough people.
It's the first time hearing of this.
But if it I'm getting close. I'm really close.
What's your fitness goal?
I want to be able to do all major compound exercises with my body weight added.
Oh, that's cool.
So like 150 bench, 150 overhead, 150 lat pull downs, and then 150 squat and deadlift.
Oh, nice. How close are you?
I'm about 135 on each. So not a couple weeks.
I have something to talk about actually. So I think we might have mentioned this, but a great podcast, we're going to talk about different type of media, a great podcast that everyone should listen to is Shane Gillis and Louis C.K.
Oh, the presidents.
Going through the presidents.
That's a fantastic series.
Talk about it for a second.
It's something that turned me around on Richard Nixon.
Mm-hmm.
Louis C.K.
It's four
episodes.
They reach about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And it's Louis C.K., fantastic comedian.
Honestly, I could listen to 1 hour episode based on each president.
Yes.
I would listen to 50 episodes
and
that easy.
It's two what would be the word? history buffs, but they're more like Americana.
Shane Gillis is more of a comedian. He's less of a history buff.
No, he's a big history buff. But Civil War on a lot of that stuff.
But Louis C.K. is just a very well-read guy.
Both of them, but they basically go through in chronological order from the first president
from George Washington to Donald Trump.
It was interesting. It was really interesting hearing Louis C.K.'s.
He was very
admiration of Obama. Like his opinion of Obama was really interesting.
Louis C.K. I mean, he had,
and his disgust for Trump.
He had sympathy for a lot of presidents who may not socially be accepted to be sympathetic towards.
That I think is my new favorite genre of things to listen to is clever comedians.
But I mean, like
talking about history.
Him talking about Andrew Jackson is fascinating because Jackson was, by all accounts, a fucking terrible piece of shit human being.
Yeah.
But his fascination on him, like not liking the Federal Reserve and wanting a decentralized monetary system. It's a very even-tempered, apolitical view of the presidential system. The one thing that I mean, I could listen to anybody talk about Teddy Roosevelt for any amount of time.
Yeah, they do that justice.
Teddy is like he's one of the coolest people to have ever existed of all time. I mean, the amount of things that guy did, like there's a certain breed of human that was like Teddy Roosevelt and Ernest Hemingway, basically.
Is that Spindrift left? Oh, damn it.
Yeah. There's a certain breed of human that's like that. That's just wildly adventurous and who's just very, very competent in what they do. And it's people like that are few and far in between.
He's literally a living legend. He's a
legend.
Yeah.
And they're few and far in between, and they are worth noting. And just Louis' interpretation of each of the presidents. I mean, like, of course, you're going to have like, what's his name, Tyler or William Henry Harrison, where they're just like kind of nothing shit presidents that didn't really do anything or died.
But so
Chester A. Arthur,
they have
Garfield.
This is all hosted on Matt and Shane's Secret Podcast is the name of the podcast, which is Shane Gillis and Matt McCuska's podcast on YouTube. But normally they'll do like an hour, and then the second hour will be hosted on their Patreon. But Louis basically insisted...
No, they had Patreon bits on that.
No, they didn't. Nope. Right. Louis said in the podcast, don't put it on Patreon. Yeah. But leave it all on YouTube. So they did the entire thing.
Yeah.
As far as I'm aware, I haven't found it on there.
The show...
It's 4 episodes, and I'm pretty sure it's all on... All 4 parts are on...
altogether, like, I'm not a huge Shane Gillis guy. I don't find him that funny. I think that he's a talent for sure, but I'm not, like... His stuff doesn't resonate with me. Like, I've listened to other bits of his podcast, and something about him, like, just doesn't hit.
A lot of his podcast on certain bits I like. It's him and his partner, Matt McCusker. It's such a weird dichotomy that... You okay?
Yeah.
That I've been enjoying it recently. But I was pleasantly surprised to find that on their Patreon, it's like $3. They have a bunch of history episodes. Yeah, I'm gonna send them to you.
All right, we should wrap it up.
Yeah.
3-hour podcast here.
One on real quick. This is the last thing.
Well,
they called it hardcore history.
Harder core history. Yeah. Hardcore history is okay. Dan Carlin's okay.
I never got into it. I really didn't like it. It was so rambling.
It's very rambling.
I really didn't
enjoy talk, it. But
he talks about a guy called Thomas Francis Miega.
It's a mouthful.
But no, I mean, if I compare like hardcore history with Dan Carlin, admittedly, I haven't listened to that many of them, and I know people love them, but it was I found it just very hard to follow
very,
and get
very,
into,
like, sporadic. There's not really.
It was very all over the place, and I totally get that. Maybe I need to give it another chance, but I really liked
shows like Myths and Legends. Also, hardcore history. They all have this weird kind of cadence where they bounce back and forth between time periods.
But I love that the Rome podcast, which I'm still slowly working. I told you about it.
Yeah.
That
I haven't listened to it though.
I think it was literally called I think it's called Rome or something, whatever the fuck it is, the history of Rome or something, where every episode's like maybe 10 minutes, 10, 12 minutes, and it goes from start to finish across the entire time period. It's like 300 or 400 episodes, maybe more. Yeah.
All right, we should wrap it up. I mean, our TV is gonna shut off automatically in a minute.
Oh shit! Yeah,
for our monitor.
Yeah. No, it was good. I like this. Good.
That was a 3-hour-long podcast that we were supposed to do. Fucking 30 minutes. How the hell was that? We didn't even get to ChatGPT.
We didn't even touch ChatGPT. That was the
thing we started with. All right. This has been the Chicken Coop Podcast.
Thanks for listening,
Adrian,
Alex,
and we'll see you next time. I guess.
Hasta la vista.
Hasta la pasta.